Madsen is howling on James McFadden.
It's basically like rebuilding a car basically after the race, where you take all the injectors out, clean all the pistons, everything like that, take the exhaust pipes off, make sure nothing's scorched, everything like that.
All right, we are back. The work area. It's been a while. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, lucky enough to be down in the Krikke Motorsport shop, doing a long form interview. One of my sort of more favourite things to do is these long form interviews. And luckily enough, Ryan Krikke, mate, you're on to the work area podcast, mate. Thank you. Thanks for sorting this out. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I actually can't wait to get this done.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for coming down with you. You've got quite the elaborate setup here. You've got a million cords and cases and microphones. So thanks for coming down to make the effort to do it the way you do it.
No, it's a bit of a dog's breakfast, but I'm not. Like I said to you when I was setting up, I don't know how to do it any different. Every cord's a different length. Like nothing's uniform, but yeah, whatever. People, it is what it is, mate. We're getting it going, mate. So just before we get too deep, mate, that Sportsman's Night, like I said to you yesterday. Yeah, Scotty Cummings actually gave Bunbury Subaru a fair bump up. He said, Greg and Janine? No, what's the
Rosie and Paige.
Yeah, Paige.
I didn't hear it on SEN, but
yeah, big pump up.
Yeah, no, pretty funny. We had not we, but the Bunbury Football Club, who we support, pretty heavily with Auskick and the league side and whatnot. The league coach Troy Hollands is our general manager, more or less, dealer principal at Bunbury Subaru. Anyway, we're sitting at this sportsman night Friday night, and Dayne and Maddie and some other employees, and Rosie was on our table. And in walk, as it was Dane Swan and Scott Cummings were the guests, and in they walk, and they just walk up to our table. I had no idea. They just walked up to our table, and they're like, "Oh, anyone sitting here?" We're like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, I'm Dane," yeah, I kind of know. And anyway, long story short, it turns out that Scott Cummings, or Cummo as they call him, drives an electric car, and he had a bit of range anxiety and was worried he wasn't going to get home in it. So somewhere during the night and the beers, we come up with the idea of go to Bunbury Subaru. We've got a charger there, plug it in, and then you can make your way home. So I think from that night, or after they finished doing their thing, they went around to Subaru and plugged the thing in the charger and sat in Royce's office and had a couple more beers, waited for it to get some charge in it, and off he went home. Yeah, so pretty funny.
No, you love your footy. I see you doing a fair bit with it. And I played 1 year for the Bunbury.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I never knew that. Yeah, right.
Back in the day, I think it's a bit of an off-area story. I was at South Bunbury and I had to leave like the week before the season started, and so yeah, I rolled up and played resis for a few games, and then just sort of cracked the shits because I had to change clubs and gave up, mate. But no, Bunbury, wicked club. Really enjoyed my time there. And all right, let's get in. No, the other thing. What is beef shin? I've seen you share like this meal on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
mate.
that was epic. That was down at Dunsborough at the Poorhouse.
Okay.
And yeah, I had no idea what a beef shin was either. So it turns out it's just a leg off the cow.
Yeah.
Of the shin as exactly as it
and
sounds.
Good.
But it was super. It was slow cooked. It was like just on this big shared platter, just like a carnival's delight.
Yeah, right.
We made it go 6 ways, and it was like some of the best roast meat I've had. Yeah, it was good.
All right, so yeah, I guess
it's nice to know you're one of my 3 followers on Instagram.
Right, when I've seen a bit of meat hanging on.
33% of my audience, yeah.
We sort of spoke. I'm not sure how to do it, but I guess chronological sort of where we'll start, and we'll just end up where we end up. But yeah, I guess your earliest memories as a kid, like, is it speedway related? Is it just family? Like, what are your earliest memories?
Well, I guess we'll just kind of keep it on the speedway thing, and it'll go off on its own tangent as we go. But certainly, we've been in the sport, or there's been a sprint. I was born in '76, and there's been a sprint car in the family since '79. So, like as long as I can remember, obviously I remember going to the speedway, but probably what I remember most is the oily, dirty, dark workshop that the sprint car was kept in as a kid. I we were always knocking around Bunbury Toyota. Like that's we've had that now for 54 years. I think this year, maybe the 1st of July. Yeah, so it's like my memories are really Bunbury Toyota and the sprint car team and these dirty workshops that they were back in the day. So yeah, it's sort of, I remember kicking around there as a kid with Jason and Daryl. They were there as well. Daryl was a year older than me. Jason was a year younger, and Ron worked on the car. John worked on the car. Shane was 7 years older than me. So when I was kind of 7 and 8 and being kind of allowed. And I think about my young bloke now who's 7 and I'm sort of bringing him out here and, it's so much fun. I guess that's probably my earliest memory. So Shane was kind of 14, 15. He was working on it as well. And then, sort of from there, I probably didn't have a whole lot of interest in it, to be honest, at that stage. And I kind of, not a whole lot of interest, but it was just there. Like it was just really normal to me. Like it was always there. So I probably didn't really get like a real strong interest or real desire or passion for it, probably till I was kind of like 13, 14, I suppose. And then, once I kind of got interested in it, I got a lot interested in it. And then, we'll kind of probably Daryl starting to race. Like I think he started to race at had a sprint car kept in the shed next to where ours was, next to where John would have been driving it at the time, I guess, maybe Shane. So we used to just kind of work on that, and that probably got me a lot more involved in it. We were kind of 15, 16 by then. Then you get a little bit more independence. We got these scooters, like the old red and white Zoomer.
Little 50cc number.
The Mozzie squad. And then, then we had, then we got keys to the yard and we could go down and we could just work, toil away on these sprint cars, and it was just like the best thing ever. Like as a 15, 16-year-old kid going down and working on these race cars, we had no idea what we were doing. Like, no, I guess we had some or enough, but we were I remember just like pulling fuel pumps apart and putting it back together just to see what was in there. We're like, what do you reckon's in there? I don't know. Let's get a 3.8 and knock the top off it and see what's in there. And I'm like, fuck, better put that back together. That probably won't work ever again.
Looks a bit complicated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we put it back together. So they're probably some of the earliest memories. Like we've been in it for a very long time. I guess once I got interested in it a little bit, then I remember going up to the speedway in like a Land Cruiser wagon with John and Shane and the crew guys back in the day. I'd get yanked out of school at lunchtime on a Friday and go down the car yard, and then we'd sit in the Land Cruiser and cruise up. It was full of shit in the back, like toolboxes and wheels and whatever, and get to we only ever have so many passes, and we're Dutch, so I guess that makes us relatively tight. And there was no paying $13. It was like, get down, so you hide behind the seat and then putting jackets over you. And,
I've always wondered if those people know. I wonder if those people, maybe it's a little bit more strict now, but those people at the gate, they know.
Oh, they would have had to have known, because all of it, there's 3 people go through the gate and then we've got a crew of like 15 people. It's like the clown car. But, so I hope Connell Gavin doesn't. Gav, we don't do that these days, above board these days.
Yeah.
So they're probably like the earliest memories, and then just kind of kicking around the pit area and just really getting to know the cars and getting yelled at because you took too long to get a 916 or whatever. And that was kind of the early days of it all. Yeah.
What about I don't know if this is a weird question, but was there like a smell? Like you say, there's always
gear
that
oil.
Workshop. Yeah, that's
gear
for me.
Oil,
it's like
dirty gear oil.
Yeah.
And our shit was so. Oh, it was good. Like it was good stuff, but we never had. There wasn't new cars. Like we didn't have new cars like we had down there. And I don't know. You didn't go through stuff like you did these days either. But everything was just kind of dirty. You couldn't work on it without getting covered in dirt and grease. And you'd go home. We used to have like a Tuesday night. It used to be maintenance night or whatever. Obviously, long before we had any real, full-time employees, it was all kind of after-work stuff, which is how it is for a lot of people still, which I greatly respect. You just go home just covered in shit, just filthy. I don't know why. I don't know why everything was so dirty. I'd like to take what we do now, take it back 30 years and be like, this is how you'd be such a trendsetter.
But did you say is this where you thought you'd be now, like running the team or anything like that? Or as a kid, you said you wasn't massively into it, and I've heard some interviews where you talk about like, skateboarding and stuff. Like, where did you think you would be, or did you even have a thought about it?
Nah, I probably didn't even have a thought about it. Like, really like, and I was probably more drawn to the mechanical side of it. Like, I never had that real, like, I'll use Daryl as an example. He just had, like, he wasn't that interested in working on them, but he had this real, like, definitive drive and mad streak in him that he wanted to race them. I probably didn't really have that. So it was more about the mechanical side of it, I guess. But yeah, look, I never really I wanted to be a full-time mechanic. At some point I was like, yeah, fuck, I want to do this like this. I could just work on these things day and night, 24 hours a day, 7, like it's, you know, I was just sick for it. And Dad's like, man, there's no future in being a sprint car mechanic. You got to come in the business, and which I was anyway. But so then I guess I kind of worked my way through that, and then I guess I am running the team now through a victim of circumstance, I suppose, which we'll probably get to a bit later. But it wasn't like, you know, I want to be the next fucking Rick Hendrick or something like that. It was just, you know, I just loved working on them, and I loved the people around it. You know, like met some really good people, and I really idolised, you know, like the crew chief guys back in the day, like you know, Buzzy. You know, he's been around forever. He was always the guy, and kind of still, well, he definitely still is. And you know, then I got hooked up with Kerry and kind of went and sort of like found my own way, and which was good. But yeah, I wasn't ever like, yeah, I'm going to run like the world's best team, and I'm not saying that we have that, but it wasn't like I had this crazy thought about it. Nah.
It just sounds like inch by inch you sort of got to where you were. There was no
it's
like
an evolution.
It's
certainly been a journey. Yeah,
piece by piece is where it's got you to. But then
it was just a backyard operation, like literally just in the back of the car yard in a shed that we weren't using for anything else.
Yeah,
and then we went from a trailer to a truck, and then from that truck to a slightly better truck, and then from that truck to another truck, and then to a semi. I guess we just grew, and it's just evolved, and with that, because of the I guess the level of investment, but then like your competitors keep you super honest as well. Like if you're not doing that, you're not going to be one of the better teams. So you just have to keep, if you want to win and anything else sucks, like if you don't want to be that, then you have to keep evolving and finding better people, finding better gear, finding better sponsors, finding better drivers, finding better opportunities, finding better races.
Yeah, so when I think about that on that side of things, I always think about the tyres and people are like, oh, what do they do? Do they need new tyres for qualifying and all that? And I'm like, well, once you just get to a level, you just have to continue to go. Like, I don't know if you listened to that one where worked out 2nd to 17th was like 7 metres. And like that could just be tyres. Like, absolutely, who knows what it could be. And
driver is still king. Like once... there's a lot of layers to it, obviously, but you've just got to put yourself in the best possible position, because there's no good doing what you're doing and investing the week and getting 6, 7, 8 crew guys up there on a night time and then going, oh, we're just going to run those tyres and we don't even know how old they are. Yeah, they haven't got edges, but they're probably going to be all right. Like, just don't get beaten by what you know, I think, at that point.
But what about then growing up, before you sort of jumped in on the cars and that, you went to the speedway? Who was your favourite driver as a kid?
I've obviously always had family in it, so like Ron and John, and then Shane kind of got into it. But I guess like Rushy, Max, like those big teams, you know, they would come to town for World Series, and we'd be like, fuck, like these guys, like that Castrol transporter, like the Valvoline transporter, and then there was Scruffy Donaldson, had Jac Haudenschild in the blue 21 stuff. The Tatnells, obviously, like I remember looking at Brooke when he was, you know, I think he won a World Series race in Bunbury here when he was 16, so I must have been like 13, 14. I was going, fuck, this guy's like, he must part the water, you know, like he's just that good.
As a 16-year-old.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, crazy.
So then you sort of, your first, I know you worked on the family car and stuff, but I've heard you talk about in 95 your crew for that Mike Rao. Is that your first like time that you branched outside of the family and worked for someone properly?
I did little bits and pieces. Like I helped Kendrick, so Sean Karen used to be the crew chief back in the day when Ron raced. I helped them out on nights. I mean, it was all domestic stuff, all WA stuff when we were doing it, so it was either really Perth or Bunbury. But if something had happened, we only ever had one car and one motor, so like if we heard a motor and we were out for a week or 2 weeks, or it was a 2-night show, then I'd just go and help anyone. Like I was that now. I just go and stand at the bar, and I'm not even getting a pit pass. I don't fucking know about it. Probably won't even go. So I'd literally just like go and mount tyres for someone or tip fuel for someone and just try and pick up bits and pieces. And so Rowley was probably the first time I guess that I'd been to the East and watched and whatever, but and I can't remember how I got tangled up with it. I think he was racing here doing World Series, and I think Stephen Melville might have been working for him, and I can't remember how it came about, but anyway, he ended up flying me across to Brisbane, I think just after Christmas. And at this stage, I was only like a 17, 18-year-old kid. Like I was pretty young and didn't know enough, but like bluffed my way into this. Like, I'm just going to go and do like the classic and title and all this. So that was, he was probably the first guy. But yeah, super nice guy. Still good mates with him now, him and his young bloke. That was a pretty wild time.
So that one of those nights in Warrnambool, I feel like, from what I can understand, I want to get your thing. It might be like a fork in the road. So you've junked a car. So is Kerry Madsen, and you meet Kerry, which snowballs onto an America trip.
Yeah. So Rowley had these Buick motors, or I think he had the one or whatever, and this thing just made like 1,000 horsepower. I don't know why he had it, but anyway, he had this Buick motor, and he's junked this thing at the end of the straight at Warrnambool. He was doing 200 mile an hour, and he should have been doing 100. Killed this thing, whatever, and it was a pretty famous classic. I think for Kerry, it was the one where he was like, I think he might have been qualifying. Got it in the fence coming out of turn 2, and like he crashed this thing that bad it left the front end with the rack attached, hanging off the fence. Like he has cut this thing in half. Anyway, so we're like, you're in Warrnambool. We went and actually worked at Ken Veal's workshop, which was PRC back in the day, and Kerry being kind of like around my age, and he had mates helping him that were kind of my age, and shit spread everywhere, so we're all in this together sort of a thing. And then you work away all week between the classic and the title, and everyone was staying in Warrnambool, and I just struck a chord with all them guys, and kind of built a friendship and a relationship that lasted forever, still now. And then so it was a bit of a pivotal point. He rang me, mates for the next year or so, and then he rang me. He said, "Why don't you come to America with me?" He didn't have a job, but he's like, "Why don't you come to America with me? I reckon you'll get a job there, and we'll figure it out." So literally jumped on a plane, flew to Sydney with him. I remember Dad talking to him, going, "Mate, like this fucking where you taking me, kid?" I literally had a ticket. Like $2,500 in the bank, and I just went with him, and we kind of found my way from there. We flew in, and Tom Balderson from Balderson Dodge Boys in Zanesville, Ohio, picked us up. He gave us a car. We cruised around for a couple of weeks, just going to all-star races, doing a bit of sightseeing. I'd never been, other than Bali, I'd never really been out of the country, let alone been out of the country with fucking the madman. So we flew into America, and he got because he'd been going back and forth every year. He's been doing that since he was like 14, 15, working on late models and stuff, sprint cars. And he gets pulled into the interrogation thing at immigration at LA. And
Too many back and forth.
And they went through his phone. Oh no, we didn't even have mobiles then, but they went through like his business card holder, which is what you had back in the day. And they, where you going? They rang Tom. Tom's like, no, he's just a friend, whatever. And because we had like 6-month tickets, and you had to fully apply for a visa back in those days. So this is like 1996. There's no email, no mobile, like it's pre-computer nearly, like things.
Yeah, right.
So it's pretty wild. And so they took him in the interrogation room, and he was in there for like hours. I'm just sitting out there going, fuck,
what's happened?
What am I going to do? Do I just go to see someone and just get another ticket and go back where I come from? And
true, because he would have been your ticket, like effectively.
Yeah, I had no idea where to go. I had no idea how it was going to going to work. I had no idea where I was going, who was going to pick me up. Zanesville. Who's fucking heard of Zanesville? And
I still haven't.
Like, no, exactly. So I was kind of like, oh, fuck, how's this going to go?
But just before you go, so like you just flew to America because Kerry said he might be able to get you a job.
Yeah.
Do you look back now and think, what?
Oh, I wouldn't let my kid do it.
Nah.
But Dad, yeah, he's just like put all the. But Kerry's like a super decent guy. Like he is, like if you know him, he won't do you a bad turn. Like I didn't know. I didn't have enough cares to trust him or not. I just knew that like America was somewhere I'd seen on VHSs, and like I wanted to go to Knoxville, I wanted to go to Eldora, and I wanted to do this stuff. And I thought I was a handy enough mechanic at the time to figure it out when I got there. A job, and so out he comes waddling out of the thing, and he's like, "Oh fuck! I thought they were going to send me home. Well, I'm fucking glad they didn't. Like, what was I going to do?" Anyway, so I forget. I go on that flight, and then so Tom picks us up, and we cruise around for a couple of weeks. Really just did spectating. Really, we kind of just chased the All Stars down through Ohio and whatnot, and just figured it out, and then how I came to stay there for that amount of time, and I was prepared to come home in 2 or 3 weeks, or whatever. Whenever I ran out of money, it is what it is. And spoke to some people, and there was just everywhere. And this was like long before anyone was really going over there working. Now there's nearly every other Aussie goes there, and kind of not saying they get paid, but they go over there and they can get looked after. And I rang home. Again, long before mobiles, no one's emailing me, there's no messages, there's no WhatsApp, there's no Snapchat, there's none of that. Rang home and spoke to my brother one day, and he's like, "Oh, look, Buzzy was over there." I think at that point he might have packed up his whole family, like Deb, and I couldn't tell you if Dylan was around or the daughters or his daughters at that stage, but he was like nearly a permanent fixture in America at this point in time.
Such a leap of faith.
Oh, massive. Yeah, huge. So I talked to Shane one day, like had a calling card for 1-800, blah, blah, blah. Talked to Shane. He's like, "Buzzy's rung. He's looking for you. He needs a worker. Call this hotel and speak to him, and he'll kind of, oh, all right. Yeah, that sounds good. Kerry, I might have a job. Yeah, cool." So I ring the hotel, no answer in the room. All right, try again. Yeah. 2 hours later, eventually I get him, and he's like, "Yeah, no, we could use you." So he's working on the Mopar car. Bobby Davis Jr., that's how long ago this is. Bobby Davis Jr. was driving it. And, so Kerry takes me down the bus station in Zanesville, and puts me on this Greyhound bus, and I spend the next 8 hours or whatever it is trekking across the country and get to Carlisle, I think it was, and those guys were at the racetrack, so I just, Buzzy, and I had no idea who they were. Like, I knew Buzzy, but I knew no idea who the crew guys were, who Stanton was, who Bobby Davis Jr. was, like nothing. Get the room key, go lay in the room and just watching TV, and then they come back from the car wash. "Oh, yeah, how you going? This is Dwayne, whatever, yeah, okay, cool." So then, I just...
Did you know Buzzy, though? Like, I know you obviously would have
pretty well, because he's a Bunbury guy from back in the day. So he'd actually spent a lot of time working on our race car way back, like back when Ron, I reckon he was a crew guy when Ron won the first Australian title for the team back in 1985. So, I kind of knew him well enough, like I trusted him,
And so just quickly, do you know if he's like the same Buswells as Bunbury?
Yeah.
Same family.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Like the Buswells, like at South Bunbury, the Buswell stand is his. Oh, look, I'm going to say it was his maybe even his dad, his grandfather.
Okay.
I think they just passed. I think he only just passed. Only recently. Yeah, but no, there's a lot of Buswells around. But he is one of the Bunbury Buswells. Yeah.
So then, so you're with them over there with the Mopar team, but that didn't come to fruition, hey?
Well, they couldn't keep the motors together, and they just they blew up all their motors, like 4 motors in 4 nights or something. I'm working on this, and I'm like, oh fuck, I've never changed a motor at a racetrack before. Like it used to take us a week to do back in the shop, like where I come from. So we're like changing motor. I'm like, fuck, this shit's hectic. This is pretty big time.
Too much.
Big trailer, like big team. Everything's flash, and I'm just like, wow. Like we've come from an open back old Isuzu thing, like Claremont, and like it was pretty surreal for me. Anyway, so they blew all their motors up, and he's like, "Mate, we're going to get back to the shop, like in Kentucky there." what are you going to do? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Do I go with you and I'd kind of met Mouse like at one of the nights. Shane actually knew Mouse. So Shane worked with Mouse for Bob Trossel back when Jamie Moyle drove the thing in like 1988. So the whole going to America thing wasn't like I wasn't a pioneer. Shane had been and done it or whatever. But yeah, so I got talking to Mouse and he's like, yeah, look, we could use some help if you just want to kind of, grab your gear and throw it in the trailer. I can't, there's obviously no money. There's, you're just going to have to sleep pretty rough, like in the sleeper in the trailer. But we'll I can, it's better than going home. Yeah, okay, fuck, that sounds good to me. So I grabbed my bag full of dirty washing and just jumped in there semi, literally from one end of the pit area to the other with this fucking bag and just, yeah, he's like, all right, well, fuck, there's your grooving iron, there's your tray of bolts, you'd probably
get going.
You're probably going to mount 1 million tyres in the next few months, yeah. So I got really fortunate with those guys. Mouse really, again, I did not know Mouse at all, but he knew the family, so I had a little bit of faith in it. And I just knew straight away that Hod was Jac was a good dude. A couple other guys on the team there that were a little weird at the time, but they went pretty quick. So yeah, I just threw my gear in their trailer, and then I really was there for the next 6 months. So the first couple of weeks, I literally slept in the trailer, and they'd come out in the morning through maintenance, drop the door, and I'd wake up and he'd go, oh, there's room key, go to whatever room, take your toilet bag, have a shower up, come back, work on the car, go to the racetrack. Same thing the next night, and then we went back to the shop, and Jac Eldon called and spoke to me, and he's like, "Oh, Mouse says you're a good worker. We'd like you to stick around," and kind of hashed out a deal with him, and then that was sort of it until, well, really, I flew home the day of the Outlaws banquet, so I stayed the whole Outlaw year. And then that's probably one of my biggest regrets. I never went to the Outlaw banquet. I don't know why. I just flew home that day, and then as it turns out, me and Kerry actually flew home together. Went to which was kind of cool. We went to America together. Both went completely different ways. Actually found our way back to each other during the trip, but flew home together, and sort of got to Sydney, and he's like, all right, catch you later, and I grabbed my bag, went and got my connector to Perth, and he went and did his, went home, and that was it, so.
Was the Kerry always the madman, or is that something he grew into once he started racing properly?
I reckon it's just something he grew into. Back in those days, he wasn't. I kind of ended up nearly spending the whole time with him, and we're just flicking through those photos there. I went my way and ended up working for after I saw him at Zanesville, after he dropped me off the train at the bus station, it was literally fuck, see you, mate. I'm leaving to go who knows where, and I had no idea where he was going. No idea if I'd see him again ever, whatever.
And even then, what you were going to do, you didn't do either. And he was probably the same. So he's probably thinking, you're over there doing this, you're not, you've gone on to Jac.
Yeah. He had no idea that I was with Hod. He had no idea, because there's no social media, you're not talking, there's literally a connection is just gone. There's no tether at all. And then I was signing in at an Outlaws race at Knoxville, and he just come wandering up and just stood next to me. He's like, "How you going?" I'm like, "Oh, good, mate. What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm working for Joey in the Mopar car." And I'd kind of heard the rumour mill, not that the 75 was doing the Outlaws, but they were doing all the races. They'd missed a bunch because they couldn't get the motors in them. But he's like, "Oh, I'm working for Joey. Joey's driving the Mopar car, and I'm the crew chief." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And then literally the whole next 5 months or 4.5 months, the 22 team and the 75 are inseparable. It was me, Mouse, and Kurt DeWeese, Lance DeWeese's brother. He was our truck driver and kind of engine guy. And Kerry in the Mopar car, and Wiz, the guy's name was. Our two trucks and trailers were inseparable for the next 4 months of the Outlaw Tour. And we sightseed together, worked together, raced together, stayed together, same hotel. So it was wicked, and then it was time to come home, and we're just like, all right, meet you in the foyer at 8 a.m, whatever day it was, and we grabbed our bags, taxi to the airport, and flew home. It was just it's just so, I know.
Was that Outlaw Tour as hectic as it is now?
I reckon it was harder.
Yeah, okay.
I think in that 6 months, I'm going to say I did 80 races or something. It was like that was like
Yeah.
back in the day when the schedule was like 100, 110 races. It was like mega.
And then, like, even that just now, I've got a question. Like, you stayed in the same hotels, but could you call up, or you just rock up and drive up to a hotel? You got any rooms? Nah, drive to the next one.
Yeah,
like, who organised that sort of stuff?
Experience is a big thing. Yeah, and there was no one. You know, like the big teams now, like I think KKR has people back in the shop or back in the office, you know, ringing ahead and booking ahead, you know, like for our operation, you know, I try and map it all out well before the year starts, and we've got rooms, not that we're using a lot of rooms now, but even World Series, you kind of book it in. But yeah, there was none of that. But America's so different. You literally just, pull up in the car park, wherever had the biggest car park, and just, go in and get a room, But experience is a big thing. Like, you know, you needed to have done the tour kind of before, so you knew where the car washes was, you knew where the laundromats were, you knew where the hotels were, you knew where to eat. You don't want to get stuck in a semi, you know, like which we did because we fucking didn't know what we were doing. But
even dead end roads, like,
all that, we got stuck in some suburban street, and I had to get a guy like with a tractor to come and like tow us out because we couldn't turn around. Like shit happens when you travel. When you do a lot of travelling and you go to a lot of races, funny stuff goes on. Like,
and what about, did they have like that map? Like, is that how you're getting around?
A big book, big atlas, literally a big atlas, like literally a big atlas. No sat nav,
there would be nothing.
CB radios, and again, that's where experience and the teams. Like you had to have a relationship with the teams because you just, you always travelled with 2 or 3 guys because someone had been there before. So. Like Mouse was our crew chief, who's Trevor Green's brother. Marcus is crew chief now.
Yep.
He was our crew chief. Didn't do a lot of driving. He didn't have the American CDL. So we had a bona fide truck driver. But like we were literally in a pickle together every other day or every other night. It was wild.
Was that sort of serious? Was that serious, or was it fun, or party hard, play hard?
Yeah, just we partied.
Yeah,
we partied a lot. But it's super hard work too. Like, you're not going to do that amount of races without working hard. Like, I reckon I would have come home, probably didn't weigh a lot in those days anyway. I went over 19, had my 20th birthday there. I wasn't a big guy, but I reckon I come home pretty thin. Like, you worked your ass off.
Grind.
Like, just work. But then you get to that stage in the schedule, like kind of set, after the Nationals, it gets to weekend sort of stuff, and then you go to California, and then it's, it's quite a bit more fun because then you got time to go like Pismo Beach and Venice and Santa Cruz and all that sort of stuff. But we never let work get in the way of having a good time. Like I think that was probably a reputation that I still have today with some of those guys. Yeah.
And if you had to like pinpoint something, like I know the team was professional, that Haudenschild team and Mouse, like is there one thing when you look back on that now you think you learnt? Like is there a lesson in that first chunk with Jac that you reflect on now?
Probably just like life skills and relationships are everything. And you probably don't realise it at the time, but now that we're so much further, well, I went back 3 years later and went back and worked for him again. So the relationship with Jac, and it was a completely different team when I went back. Even guys like Guy Forbrook come along for a few races. That first time I was there, he's still, like I'll get a random message from him. Like, you have these relationships and just life skills for a 19-year-old kid or 20-year-old kid to get out of their own backyard, completely out of their comfort zone, and just go and literally find your way, and like this gypsy trail of a sprint car thing and you're just being guided by, like, if you just think that you were guided by Mouse and Kerry at the time, you're just like, fuck, just like you were going to end up a busted up unit. But somehow I found my way, and like those two guys I'm still best mates with Mouse and Kerry and that now. Like it's just that, and Jac and Sheldon and that whole family, the whole operation was just super cool.
And then you obviously, when you come back here, was there, I don't know what it'd be, not like an adjustment period, but going from that to come back to almost a family car where you're like, we need to change this up. Like we need to.
I think
what was
I
your
needed
thoughts?
to change. Like I think you come back with a with a fair, like you need to have your attitude kind of retweaked, because it's all good when you're around all those people and you're at that level, and it was high. Like if you go and work for Jac back in those days, like it was like his fan base was massive, like absolutely mega. And so to come back and then I was crew chief on my brother's car when we come back, and going back to Claremont, you just like this is pretty. This doesn't really do it for me anymore.
Bit pedestrian.
And it was. And I remember, we've still got some of my best mates work on the car with us now, and I remember having some blues with them, and just like, just I don't know. You just come back with a. And it's probably just being that 20-year-old kid. You've fucking come back with a head that's that big you wouldn't fit through the door because you think you know it all, and you've been around all these guys and whatnot, but. Yeah, I guess you get brought back to earth pretty quick, and then you find your way and just get into it. And I just lived for then when the World Series came over and Kerry came and racing and Mouse came with Trevor back in the day. You just live for those big races and the big weekends, and you just get with those mates again. And we used to drink some beers, we used to just get on the piss and just proper, just madness, absolutely madness. But just so much fun, yeah.
But what about it seems crazy now to think the Claremont Showgrounds is the Claremont Speedway track. Would you guys stay in Claremont after a Claremont Speedway race night, or?
If it was a double header, 2 nights, we would.
Yeah,
not one night. We'd just drive up and back, which is kind of what we do now too. But so Shane's wife was her mum lived in Perth, so we'd go and camp at her house, or get hotels, and it was always flash ones like the Great Eastern Motor Lodge or something like that.
Mate, that's where I stayed for footy. Great Eastern.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not bad. So we kind of it was rare to stay away. I remember we did race in Albany of a night time, and we one weekend I think we raced Perth one night and then Albany the next. That would have been a big haul back in the day. I remember staying down there. All it did was just allow you to just drink more. And it's not it's not our culture, but having fun and the good time, and just there's so many memories created around a lot of memories to do with racing, but so many memories just created around having relationships. And it used to be it used to be so much different back in the day. Just getting on the piss after the races, it was just proper good fun, just good harmless fun. Well, I wouldn't say harmless, but
not always.
Probably
harmless.
has been a few people harmed along the way.
That even when you're speaking or showing me the photos and that, it's a massive world, but the speedway world is tiny generally. What your story sort of starts with Kim Buswell, and now you're still racing against him. Not much seems to have changed, and then his kid. It's the speedway world doesn't branch out too far. It all stays within itself.
Yeah, I know, and it makes you. And I guess 20 years ago, you were what's the next generation look like? But I mean, there's been some really good young guys coming into the sport recently, I feel and there was certainly a period where it was Brooke, Kerry, Fari, Braze, Max was getting on, Rush was getting on, but then there wasn't a lot under that. Whereas now I feel that driver-wise, it's been really, kind of starting to really fill up again with talent. But it is a pretty small circle, and it's a pretty small world really. I went back to the Nationals, I don't know, 3 years, maybe 4 years ago, and just ran into some of them guys from there, and I ended up in the 3G drinking for 4 nights, and it's just literally you saw him the year before. That's kind of, I think, the thread that Speedway has. Even now, when we go to races in the East, like the Adelaide race last year, and then we go back to the Classic, and the first one after COVID, going back east, you just see those guys, like Rushy and Max and all those guys. The relationships are still there. They don't really dwindle. If you're someone that you played footy with, and then you see him 20 years later, or not, down the track a little bit, it's oh yeah, here you go, mate. I played footy with him, but with Speedway, it's we've got this. There's an element of blood brothers to it, I think, to a point.
Because one of the things that even doing these interviews with people and stuff like that the feedback I get is sort of how people feel like they know each other, but then they reflect and go, I actually only speak to him for 20 minutes every second weekend, and the relationship and the bond they forge in that tiny time is weirdly big. Like you'd have blokes that if you timed your conversations with all up, might be an hour.
Yeah,
and you
like my
text him.
missus.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, it's tiny to feel like Dill Buswell, like Kim, like all these names that you knew 30 years ago, and they're still relevant.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not. I guess I don't see it as much these days with the mechanics, and I think it's very different now. You know, like back in the day, there was just as much at stake, but I don't feel like the amount of pressure was the same, or just like the whole social thing was like way bigger then. You know, like every race, like the classic would be, and it still is a pretty big sip after the race, but like it would be massive, and everyone would just be in one big group, and it was just like a real big thing. Whereas now it's kind of like, you know, everyone's kind of stays to the trailers, and there's a little bit going on here, a little bit going on there. So it's probably a little bit different, but and yeah, you know, I don't get to know many of the young guys, I guess, coming into the industry now, you know, like mechanics and that sort of thing. You know, some of the full-time guys, but yeah, it's weird. Kind of as you progress, then you kind of have these connections with people like Callum's old man. I'm good mates with Aussie Corbett, Jac Corbett's dad. You know, like the older guys, not that they're of my generation, but you seem to get to know those guys a little bit more, and not so much the young guys. You know, I'm sure these crew chiefs must be like, oh fuck, he's 50. I don't want to do it. I'm not 50 yet, but I'm nearing. You know, there must be. You know, I don't want to. You know, like these guys are just old. You know, they're beyond me or whatever. And you know, Maddie talks about guys that I'm like, I don't think I know him, mate. Like, he's like, oh, he would have seen him. But so yeah, so the connections are just different, I guess. You know, like, but certainly the industry as a whole, yeah, like you have some really, really. I've had some. Been fortunate to have some really, really long-standing relationships and really good ones, like really good people.
I wonder if World Series going away is like what you're saying now with the relationships with the newer fellas is a byproduct of that. Like when you're out on the road, you would be doing what you were saying, staying at the hotel. You would be able to have a beer because you could go to dinner. Whereas when it's at the Motorplex, like the product is amazing and the track and the facilities and all that, but you got to get back to Bunbury straight away.
Yeah.
Like and then you're like, well, when am I ever going to catch up with this person, have a beer? Like, is it worth putting the olive leaf out because I'm busy, I'm coming away? Like, yeah, I wonder on twofold, the relationships aren't as strong. And then I'd be keen to get your thoughts if you think mechanics and crew chief skill sets does it change? Like the World Series with the pressure and the amount that you do, or can people still develop a skill set just racing the Motorplex?
Skills like a social skill set, you mean, or like a skill set in like setting the car up and
both?
changing?
Like like I said, like are relationships are there, like in 20 years' time is the relationships within Speedway going to be worse because you're not spending the time on the road? And then guys like Matty Cochran's been on the World Series, but the next lots of crew chief, are they going to be able to learn without that World Series being track to track to track?
Yeah, which certainly does do that. Like being on the road, it's like as competitive as it is, and especially World Series is like super brutal because it's so short and sharp. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You get away from that, you know, like, and it's one thing with the Motorplex, it doesn't have like I'm a massive fan of it, but it doesn't have a lot of atmosphere or vibe after the race. Everyone's very much back at their outfit, get the panels off it in the box, go to the car wash, even if you don't race for 5-6 days.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, you can't afford to have a beer, and then you're like, Matty, he can't afford to have a beer and then drive the rig because he's, you know, if he gets pulled over, then he's done. You know, what do we do? He's our only truck driver. So everyone's a little bit more conscious of that. Whereas, on the road, you know, you go back, pull up, and you want to stay with other teams, and quite often you end up in, you know, one room on the piss or, you know, like sitting out in the car park. I mean, you race in Brisbane back in the day. As recently as, you know, when we used to race there just before a shut, you know, there was a few teams stay at the hotel and you just end up sitting in the car park on the curb having a beer. Like, how good. You just, you know, it's like you've been to the car wash, you've worked, and now it's just those, you know, that hour or two of just downtime. Stayed in Brisbane with Kerry. We rained out. We ended up sitting in a room with Kerry and all our guys and Jason Pride and all his guys watching Perth on TV, having a bet. We had the bed covered in money, and Kerry was the bookie, and he's like, fucking Callum's like 2-1, he's 3-1. I'll give you double or nothing if he wins.
Yeah, right.
Like if he wins the dash and the feature or whatever, and it does take that away from it. You very much go do your job and come home, and the focus on what we do now is really, really like quite intense. Like it's like we're very, very focused and driven on, like we're going there to win. Like our interaction, I feel like with other teams is nowhere near what it is when you're on the road. Like it's a weird thing, yeah.
Yeah. I always think just with that, I remember Brodie Mollett saying when he was talking to his new crew guy, like, that's our mate in the car. So it's like, that's the other thing.
That's no joke. Yeah.
No, you don't want to like goof off or be hungover or do anything like that at the Motorplex. Like it's serious. Everyone wants to win.
Yeah.
It's really thing. But at the end of the day, that is your mate in the car as well. So you gotta be switched on.
And I don't think it's just here. Like I've seen it when I've gone back to back to America. It's not what it was the year before, and certainly not what it was in '96. Like it was like nearly, unless you had to be somewhere the next night, it was like half a piss up. Like the Nationals getting on the piss with Carl Kinzer, with him doing his bus ride, his make believe bus drives and stuff like that under the main grandstand, and just like a massive, like it was just massive. And then even when I went back in '99, it was different. And then every other year, it's just falls away. And I don't think people, I don't think the 20-year-old or the 30-year-old, and certainly not the 20-year-old, they don't socialise. They're not what they were, back in those days. Like as a 20-year-old kid, I just fucking couldn't get my hands on enough beer and just couldn't do enough work. Yeah. Whereas I don't see the 20-year-old today to be, like the ones that we employ and the ones that I know, they're not that driven. Like that social scene is just different.
I always wonder if those like binge drinking ads actually work. Like, because it just doesn't happen anymore. Like,
no, it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. No, it just humans, they don't interact like we did once. You know what I mean? Like it's all online and stuff. Like always. I don't know. I've never had a Tinder account. Never really needed to. But always been pretty partial to the ladies. But I just go and talk.
That's
weird.
Mate, getting back. You've come back from America. You're working on the car. I guess sort of the next landmark in your journey was the passing of your two cousins. Like, were they your cousins or were they like your best mates?
They were both. Yeah, probably more mates to be honest than cousins. Obviously, cousins by blood. So one was Ron's. So the family, Dad, Ron, John, brothers. There's another brother and then two sisters. So a pretty big family. All came out from Holland. Not all come out from Holland. Sorry, grandfather and grandmother, Dad, and his one brother at the time came out from Holland. They were like 5 or 6 years old. And that's it. Like as far as our immediate family goes, that's it. There's no. Well, now we kind of we've got second cousins and stuff. But whatever is here in Bunbury in the southwest is it for us. Like that. So it was super tight family. And then obviously like the thing with cars is a real common thread. And Speedway in particular has kept our family super tight over time. And like I said before, I'd be down in the race car shed with Daryl and Jason, and so they were cousins by blood, but certainly more on the mate side of things. They were actually both living with one of or two of my best mates at the time when they got killed. So one of them still helps us on the car now, Mutzi. They were renting a room off him at the time because they've been turfed out of their other joint or whatever. They were lads. They were proper fucking rat bags. But so that was like second to, I wouldn't say second, but it's up there with Shane passing as well. Those they're big moments in your life.
Yeah. So what? I've heard on an interview you were there that night. That was a Wednesday night?
No, it was a Friday night.
Friday night.
So
practice or rain?
They had a race on. I think there was a 360 race on at Perth. Daryl was racing for Larry for LJM, Brad and Jamie's dad back in the day. Somehow Keith Giles, who's still around now, he was Manda's crew chief there last year. Like these names, they're the same people. Like they are the same people. He was Daryl's crew chief. They're working on that, and somehow they got their hands on an ex-Tyler Walker car. I don't know how it came about, how it came in the country, but anyway, they were like, we're going to take this thing and just run off the back. And I couldn't even say that Daryl had a 410 or if 410s were racing and he had a 360, however it went. But anyway, so he was just like just going to make some laps in this thing off the back, just kind of shake it down. And I don't even think they'd let you do it now. But so we went like I say, we would find any excuse to have a beer, like any excuse at all, and that's all it was for us. That's all that trip to Perth was. Like we weren't going there to watch him. Yeah, the speed bar was on, but fuck, just an excuse. You know,
just something on the TV.
Drink beers for 2 hours up there, stand at Fowl House at the bar. Watch it all unfold, get in the car, drink beers all the way home, get up the next day. Life's normal, you know, like how much fun.
Yeah.
So it was myself, the two guys that the boys were living with at the time, Woodsy and Murphy, Daniel Murphy. Woodsy, yeah, he's only got one name.
I love that.
Just on his birth certificate, one name. And myself. So we just like put some beers in the esky and cruised up on a Friday arvo, you know, go there and they obviously. Well, there was 3 of those guys went in their car. There was Daryl, Jason, and another guy by the name of Bob DeKelpie, Ryan Brand. So we just went to the speedway, watched these guys do their thing, had a few beers, and the other guy that was with them, I'll call him Bob DeKelpie, but that's not his actual name. But anyone who listens that's been around speedway will know. He was a baker by trade, and he wanted to get home sooner, so he jumped in with us because these guys were obviously, you know, loading up and whatever after the race, and then for whatever, again, we just loved having a beer. Somehow we find our way into Fremantle and we're at Metropolis nightclub.
Somehow.
On the way home from it's a Friday
the sat-nav took you there.
Yeah, well, I don't even think we had it there.
The Atlas just had it highlighted, I reckon.
We knew our way.
Yeah.
We knew our way. And then... so we're just having like a good time and get a kebab, you know, get in the car, drive home, whatever. And then so we're heading home. So there's myself, Jason's dad, the 2 boys I live with, and Jason's best mate, Bob DeKelpie. And we're coming down, and I still remember. I'll probably get a little emotional through this bit of your chat, but. I still get to the same bend in the road, and I can still like picture how like. Not that it doesn't. It's not a haunting thing. And it's not even every time you just fuck, you know. So I come around the corner and there was a car facing toward us, and I was driving. We're in a Land Cruiser wagon. I was driving the whole time, and this was when mobile phones had just come in. So I had like this brick of an NEC thing because I kind of needed it for work or whatever, and come around and there was a car, and it's dual lane, so the road is as it is now. I do remember the vegetation in the middle of in the medium strip being really low, so it must not have been open for that long. And there was a car facing toward us on our side of the road, flashing its lights. And the first thing I said was, "Fuck, I'm going to get done for DD here." Like nothing short. Fuck, anyway, like no water, no nothing. Like here, hold my beer type thing. Anyway, so we pull up and the guy comes, and we're probably. You know, I don't know, we're probably 100 metres away or 50, 60, I don't know, you know, we're a little bit away, but you could kind of see there was some carnage up ahead and there's no one else there. This is like just happened. The guy comes running up to the passenger window and he's like, "There's been a bad accident. Has anyone got a phone?" And I said, "Yeah, I have." He's like, call the ambulance, call 000. It's fucking pretty nasty. I'm like, "Fuck, all right, shit." I'm like, "Fuck, I've been on the piss all arvo. Oh no, I don't like this is the last thing I need." And I couldn't see, because it was a fair bit down the road. And then I remember I was sitting there I must have got out and I was on the phone. I remember sitting there either in the passenger seat with the door open on the phone when I think Bob, or I'm pretty sure it was Bob, he said, "Fuck, that's the car I came to Perth in." And it was, at this point, it was like the thing's ripped in half. It's got its boot facing toward us upside down. But you can see the number plate. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Fuck, that's the Rego, that's Daryl and Jason." I'm like, wow. And then, you know, one of the, by then I think Johnny maybe had run back because obviously everybody went to see if they could assist in this crash, and I'm on the phone. So they, Johnny come running back, and he's, you know, obviously pretty distraught at this point. He's like, "Fuck, it's Daryl and Jason." It's like, "Oh, fuck," so I'm on the phone to this lady, and I'm trying to explain where, like, out on the Old Coast Road, where are you? You got no idea, like, and you know,
Not ticking off streets as you come past.
No,
You're
and
just
I've
saying,
like, had a few beers, and it's pitch black. Like, it is the only light we got is our headlights. And I'm trying to tell this lady, like, we're here, and she's like, well, where are you? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. It must be mile up. I don't know. It's just a flat, long piece of road. She's like, well, how am I? You know, I'm like, just fucking like,
send one.
Just do something. Like, and in the end, I think I just threw the phone, and then went over to see what we could do. And Vicar was a white Commodore sedan, like a VN VP. The back half upside down in the bush, front half like 40 metres away. Like it was in like clean in half. Jason had been ejected from the car. He was on the side of the road. It was pretty clear what had gone on there. So we kind of, Johnny actually sat with him, like his father, you know, to put it in perspective. He sat with him and took his jacket off, I think, and laid him over, and then, you know, couldn't do anything further with that. And Daryl was still in the driver's seat, but the front half was upside down, kind of like in the dirt, like nosed into the dirt. And I can't remember who said it, but he was actually still bleeding. So I thought, well, fuck, if he's bleeding out, maybe his heart's still, maybe he's alive. Like, in this thing, it's got no roof. It's just it's a chair, like a driver's seat in the, and we're trying to tip it up. You know, we had no chance, but we're trying to tip the front half of this thing over to try and, you know, help do something, and we just couldn't. Like, it just was no chance. So we're like literally, like, absolutely helpless, but just to sit on the side of the road. I can't remember who. I think I rang. I was the only one with the phone. I think I rang my mum and dad, and then they might have rang Buffer, and then they come out, and like we literally had to sit. You know, I don't know. We've been past it on the way down. It's half hour, 40 minutes out of town. We're literally just sitting there waiting for an ambulance, waiting for call, and it's like there is shit everywhere. It's like a bomb's going off. Bits of car. Daryl's helmet bag was there. You know, the bodies at the scene.
Yep.
Pretty pretty bad. And then finally the tow truck comes, and the police come, and the ambulances come, and mum and dad come, and then they drove us, someone to drop my car and took the boys, Mutzi and Murphy and Bob home, and then from there we had to we went to Jason's mum's house to tell her and his sister, grandparents, go tell them. Went to my brother's house, told him. I stayed there when mum and dad. I don't know. I hadn't been to bed. Like, now it's 7 a.m, 6 a.m. And, the other guys went home, and I remember just going to bed at Shane's house and just falling asleep, and then waking up a couple of hours later and just going, oh, fuck. And then reality sets in, and then you just like the massive weight and of it all, and the devastation was just uncomprehendable, really. Like, I was 20, I guess. It was March 97, so yeah. So it was pretty fresh off the back of the US trip and the season that had just happened and whatever. And then obviously we had to go around to Mutzi's house, and I remember sitting on his front lawn at Arvo just having a few beers. Like, all our mates come around, because our mates were Daryl and Jason's mates. We're all like a really tight knit group.
Just
of guys.
One nucleus.
Just one group of guys, just mates. You're like, well, if we weren't at the speedway or at the pub or at someone else's house, or Mutzi's house was the go-to. He was kind of like the one guy who lived out from his parents' house, and that was pretty loose sort of joint. So that's where it all that was kind of our little go-to. I just remember sitting out the front of Mutzi's joint that afternoon and just talking about, all their shit's still in their house. Like, it's, all they did the night before was pull the door shut and go to the speedway. Yeah. And then, obviously Ron and John had to come around and get their, eventually clear all their stuff out, which, had to kind of happen pretty quickly. And then, that week, we just kind of sort of based ourselves out of the sprint car shop out the back of Bunbury Toyota. I just remember being there all day, every day. And mates would just get anyone that wanted to see us just had to come there and see us. We're just basically just sitting around the sprint car shop, just going, fuck, like this is just so like, yeah. And you try and make sense out of it. You just don't, because it's just senseless. You can't figure it out. But it was just weird that those two were so inseparable always. Like, not that I was the third wheel to them, but certainly it was Daryl and Jason always in one conversation, then myself, and a lot of the times it was us three together. Jason was a year younger than me, so we kind of hit the pub scene before him, and he was a little bit not necessarily that way inclined either. Like, we were, like, we loved a beer, like just loved a beer, still do. Whereas Jason kind of wasn't that kind of that way really. He was the quiet achiever. So we had to kind of try and make sense of it and just figure it out. And then the funeral comes around, and had to work through that. That was obviously a big thing. I was a pallbearer. I'd never even been to a funeral at that point. I was the pallbearer. Shane spoke at the funeral. I was at the speedway on the infield. It was a massive big thing. Max come over for it. Rushy come over for it. Trevor Green, it was a huge thing. Like, it was big. And then trying to figure it out. Actually, funny story. Before the very weekend before that, to put into context and to get off the morbid side of it, but the weekend before that was the March long weekend. And for some reason, me, Daryl and Wootsy thought it'd be a good idea to drive to Kalbarri for the weekend. Just, we had no idea how far it was. We didn't know fucking anything. So Daryl's old man, Ronnie, he's got this pop-top caravan type thing. So we're like, yeah, we're going to take the caravan, and I've got an XF panel van from Bunbury Toyota, so we'll take that. Yeah, righto. It's like 5 o'clock on a Friday night. We're setting sail for Kalbarri, and we've got the pop top with the new gas bottle, and we get this XF. Well, we get to like mile up, or not even, Lake Clifton or something, and this thing's boiling its guts out. Like, we're like, fuck, what are we going to do? I said, fuck it, we'll just keep driving it. So we drove the thing to Kalbarri, this thing just boiling its guts. So we drove overnight. We had a beanbag in the back, and me and Daryl just sat in the back next to the esky. Poor old Wootsy, he had to drive we made him drive the whole way. And we just sat in the back and just smashed beers all the way up. We would get there at like 6 a.m, go to the caravan park, and the guy's like, "You're not coming in, mate. Come back at like lunchtime." We're like, "Fuck." So we go down the beach, and we're down there having a swim. We go back, set our stuff up eventually. Go back down the beach, and there's a group of girls there, and we get talking. There was 3 girls, 3 of us. We're like, "Fuck, this is how good's this?" So
Stars have aligned.
Yeah, we go and talk to them, and whatever. Anyway, we end up back at their caravan park in the kiddie pool. And there's a photo of us 3, me, Daryl and Wootsy, and these 3 chicks. I thought long enough about it. I'd probably remember maybe one of the names. But, we're like in this kiddie pool, just like laying there, just drinking beers. Like, the kids couldn't get near it at this caravan park. Like, no one could get near the swimming pool. We just literally got the esky on the edge, and we're just drinking. We're just drinking these stubbies. Carlton Cold was our go-to back in the day. And we're just drinking these stubbies, and then, we just, nothing ever kind of transpired with any of them. But it was just one of those things, and we just end up back in the caravan park and just like, being day drinking. You passed out by 7 o'clock at night, and all we had was like ding sausage cheese and red cordial in the thing. Then we had to pack it all up and come home, and we had to go and get a radio to put in this thing before we left town on the Monday or the Sunday or whatever, which was a massive drama. Anyway, I tow this thing home, get home at like 8 o'clock on the Monday night of the long weekend, back to work on the Tuesday. None of that had kind of been dealt with before the weekend that the boys got killed. So like, there's still this caravan, and it was like one of those deals where you drop the table down to make the bed type thing, and that was my bed. Daryl was half pissed. He's got out of the bed and stood on the table and busted the table, so that's broken. So I've had to sleep like this for the weekend, and so all this was like parked out the back in Wootsy's house. So he had to also deal with that. Ron's like, "What am I going to do with this caravan? With this caravan?" You blokes are going, "Oh, by the way, it's got a fuck table, and this is broken, and we broke the stove, and we broke." So it's just, but yeah. So that one weekend was yeah, certainly the memories from that one weekend was really good. And we obviously had no idea what was going to be in front of us in 5 days' time. It was insane. And
it's crazy to think what can change in 5 days.
Just 5 seconds, like 5 minutes, like literally just come around that bend and just everything. It changed my life. But think about Ron and John and the rest of the family, how it all changed. It's just even the landscape of the speedway, WA 95, it's been such a legacy now for so long, the boys race, all that. Obviously you don't have memorial races without something bad kind of happening typically. So, but yeah, for that was a massive thing in the community for Bunbury itself. And I remember being at Ron's house the next day and, it came on the news and you're just like, this is just, a lot of it was not real, but then it was so real, I don't know, it was just, but just, it haunted, I never got any counselling for it or anything, and I'm not saying I ever needed it, but it was one of those that just, those visions and the reality of having it. If I was told it, I probably wouldn't have believed it. It's a little bit like the scenario with my brother as well. To get told something like that is completely different to having to witnessing it and being such a massive part of it. Because then, there was police statements and all this that you had to give. And, I remember Ronnie and Johnny coming down the race car shop out the back of work and they just had to go down and identify the bodies and, all the shit that goes with somebody getting killed in such tragic circumstances is just fucking horrendous. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, the Speedway community, again, just got right behind us, turned up the next week for the boys' race, and that kind of, it doesn't make it okay or doesn't make it any less stingy, but it's something that is more of a thread between the people that were around in those days as well.
One of the questions I have with that, it's obviously such a massive impact on your life. I wonder, if I try to put myself in the shoes of yourself, the boys' race, it must be such an emotional roller coaster. Now it sort of seems like Shane's involved with that weekend as well. Is it hard to get yourself up for that event every year? Do you view it as one of the things you're happy for when it comes but you're glad when it's over, or do you treat it as a full celebration? How hard is it to deal with that weekend?
Obviously, time's a good healer or a big healer, probably the only healer. It's certainly back in the day it was, and I feel like when it was at Bunbury it had a lot more emotional pull on me, and I think the whole family would say that. Now that it's in Perth, I think that it needs to be in Perth because they do such a good job with the race itself, promoting it, how it looks, the TV, it needs to be there for that. But the spiritual home of the race is still in Bunbury, and one day it might come back. But yeah, it's a big thing. I guess I've been through a lot of them now, too many of them. It's probably more pressure on probably Dayne and Maddie, and I know Kerry felt the pressure. TK told me, Tim Kading told me it was the biggest race he'd ever been in at that point. He was coming off the front row and he was fucking shitting bricks. He was sitting down the side of the trailer before the race. I went down there to have a leak, and fuck, you right, bruv? And he's like, mate, I am fucking scared of this race. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, this is the big. I'm like, it's not the biggest race. And he's like, it's the race with the most meaning. To me, I want to win this race more than any other race that I've ever had an opportunity to win. So that was pretty big. Obviously Brooke as well. It's a big thing. I don't know. Probably the first one after Shane died, which is when we did that car behind, that was probably the biggest thing because it never used to be the boys' race. That took a couple of years to actually happen. It was kind of just the race on that weekend, and then it kind of turned in that it kind of got promoted then into the boys' race. But it does. It's not just another race. It's not just another good paying race, and WA has a lot of them. It certainly has a lot more meaning, and you get a lot more focus. You get a lot more media attention, and there's a lot more fanfare around your car and whatnot. So for me, I don't really have the pressure. I don't have to go there and perform. I'm just kind of chief energy officer, I suppose. Just make sure the boys are up and everyone does their job, and all the pressures with Dayne and Maddie really. But like I told Dayne early in the piece, that pressure's a privilege. You don't have to have it. It's easy. You can do away with it. You don't need it. You don't have to have it. But if you want to make a difference and make a mark, then it comes with pressure. Like, absolutely. It's a big weekend. It's a big weekend.
Yeah. Dude, just to lighten it up a smidge, do you know who designed the Ford of the Boys 95 logo? Like, because I think it's like the most easily recognisable and most synonymous like logo we have in Speedway.
Yeah, it probably is. I think it just kind of like morphed from his number on the car. That was the shape of the 9 and the 5 was the same. Like there's a picture right here. So it was kind of it's that shape, and then it just kind of the WA thing, and it just that WA 95 really blew up. Very shortly after.
Because like my mates that have nothing to do with Speedway know what that sticker is, and they would never have seen a sprint car in their life.
No.
But like the fact that the community gets behind you, it's on the back of heaps of cars around town and stuff like that. I was always like, it's one of the things that it's bigger than the sport, just that one little sticker.
Yeah, certainly Ron, he had his own car yard for quite a while, the Ron Krikke Motorsport, and he raced under 95 toward the end of his career. Which I was lucky enough to work on as well. Actually, was I'm not going to say crew chief, but like kind of between myself and Johnny, we were kind of calling the shots on the car for the last ever race at Claremont, actually, which is pretty cool. So he had his own car yard, and he would put the WA95 sticker on the back window of every car. Back when we don't even put stickers barely on cars these days. But so that kind of probably propelled it as well.
Yeah, right. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, but obviously, I think the Speedway community and fans are bigger than you probably know, bigger than you probably realise, and it was, and that's long before social media. Like it hasn't been boomed up because everybody shared it. It's just been a genuine organic growth with WA 95. Yeah.
And then from listening to the interviews prior, you said you sort of got a little bit disenfranchised with the sport and stuff like that. Did you just want to stay away from it? Like, what did you do? Like, and I would know everyone would have the best intentions, but they'd want to come up and say something to you, like
straight after the accident. You mean?
Yeah,
I didn't. I just had probably the best way to describe it is just had just the wind knocked out of you. Like just the wind's gone. Like your sails. You just. It didn't take the fight out of me, but you just lose your motivation, and you're just like, fuck. You're just like, fuck. I was flat. Like, I'm still flat about it now, but like between all of us mates, we're just like two of our, two of our immediate posse were no longer, and it was a big deal. Like it was a big thing in town. It was news. It was, it didn't just happen and you kind of moved on. It was like in your face at every turn, and that family being as tight as it is, like we all wore it. It really just kind of like it just took the wind out of ourselves. I think like it was just a really, really hard time to kind of keep getting back up for. And everywhere you went, literally, like everywhere you went, like, fuck, there you go, like, sorry, like, and that just went for ages. Like it just went for years, really.
It's tough, because everyone has the best intentions in doing it. It constantly brings it back up for you. And then, I would imagine if it was me, I'd be like, I just don't know if I want to get to the Speedway tonight. Like I might just stay away.
Yeah.
And like, what sort of time frame did it take for you to get back into the swing of things?
Didn't miss a beat, to be honest, because we raced
that weekend.
That weekend, like literally, like there's photos of when we raced in Claremont the very next Friday night. So we had a double header the next weekend, Friday and Saturday. We literally were at Claremont the next Friday night, and then at Bunbury on the Saturday straight after. And I was crew chief on Shane's car then, and obviously we didn't want to miss a race. And you think that these guys would want us to be racing, so we just spent all week working on the car. I didn't go to work that week, but just spent all week working on the car, and then we just went and raced one night, 2 nights, and fuck, before you know it, it's 30 years later, 26 years later. But life. It's never been the same, never will be, and it was very, very difficult at the time. to get your head around.
What would you say your one would is as like a mechanic or a crew chief? Like, did you have something in particular that you felt like you were really good at, like watching a car, setting something up, like?
Probably just work ethic, I think, back in the day. Like I just used to, probably passion. Like I just loved it. I wasn't, I think, and set up stuff back then was way simpler than it is now. Like there was no such thing as a shock dyno. We had pretty basic sort of shocks, like maybe a 4.6 left rear or a 5.6, and it was just basic sort of stuff. And I brought a lot of that stuff back from the US with me as well, which helps. But yeah, it was pretty much just bars and shocks and move your wheel around. It wasn't anywhere near as even fueling your motors. We didn't have a computer back in those days. We had fucking no idea what the humidity was, or if it got hot, we'd take a bit of fuel out. If it got cold, we'd put a bit in, but change the pill. But it was just kind of just so much simpler. But yeah, I guess. Probably just a passion I had for the sport, the work ethic. Really. Always just wanted to present the stuff well and maintain it well. And, we still don't, but yeah, even thinking back then, mechanical failures were really rare. We never really, never had nothing fall off and all that sort of stuff. Never been that car.
One thing, there's a saying that I like, and I don't know why, but it always reminds me of yourself. It's how you do anything is how you do everything. I feel like that's you. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. I've never heard that saying, but that's a good one. I think it just costs no more to do it right than do it wrong, I suppose. Like you can go and spend the money, but it's, at the end of the day, if you're going to do the job, it's actually no harder to do it better than to do it half as good, if you know what I mean. Like it's just one of those things. If you're going to do it. Yeah, if you're going to do it, just do it. Yeah, do it right. And that's probably, and we've been really fortunate to have crew chiefs over time and drivers over time that have been the same way, I guess.
And then, so you speak about Shane, and then he diagnosed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Is that right?
Correct.
In 1998.
Yep. Yeah. So literally, 12, a year later, really. Like after the boys, then that sort of popped up, and that was another fucking kick in the guts, I guess, or you just like, and I guess as a kid you just think you're so, as a 21, whatever I was at the time, 22-year-old, you just think that you're bulletproof, everyone's bulletproof. I was starting to see that wasn't the case, there's all of a sudden the most bulletproof people have been killed in an accident. And we probably didn't respect cars enough, I guess, and we probably still don't, to be fair, when you grow up around them. And every time you get in one, it's flat out, and you got to race everyone, and it's all fun and games until something goes pear shaped. And it didn't teach us anywhere near enough lessons. Like it's probably should have taken a lot more from it at the time, and I've put myself in stupid spots since. Hopefully, I've grown out of that by now. But so literally a year after that, Shane gets I couldn't tell you the month or the date, but he gets the diagnosis, and it was scary, but it wasn't like this is life-threatening. It was, like the message was, if you're going to get cancer, this is the one to get. You can fix it, which he did. He was in remission. He had it beat quite a few times, really. Obviously, we know how that story ends, but that's, kind of at the time it was like, oh, fuck, that's bad, but, oh, well, take the silver lining. Got cancer, but it was a good one. Yeah, you'll beat it. It's just a matter of doing what, following protocol and do what needs to be done.
And that's obviously, I guess your journey's one in the same as Krikke, but that's when you've sort of started to come more on board with the team. Is that right?
I was his crew chief at the time then. And I was actually starting to think about doing some racing myself in the winter. I was actually thinking about it. I was kind of, because they used to have like a winter series, they may still even up at Ellenbrook and stuff.
Yep, they do.
He was going to be my crew chief, and I was just going to take the car in the winter and get a 360 and just go and have a skid and just see what happened, see where it went. And then he got sick, so then that wasn't really, I lost my crew chief or whatever. So then that never kind of really transpired, and it never came, and then that scenario or that opportunity probably never came back because of the way the team went. But yeah, his sort of, I guess the story with the team, once he got his diagnosis, he sort of said, like, I'd like to, why don't we put a car in on the World Series? And it wasn't like a last wish or a bucket list thing, but it was, I can't race and we've got all this gear. And I never stood up and said, oh, fuck, I'll race it. You know, I never did that. But I could have done if that had been my drive and my want at that point in time. But yeah, so he's, was all going to the World Series and he met Schatz the year before, who I'd met in America when I was there as well. He was like not even on the World Series in those days. He was just this young guy, like he's more or less my age. So we met Donnie the year before, and then he's like, oh, I reckon we could get Donnie out and do the World Series and kind of use that. We'll just do it as a 1 year thing. I'll be right the year after, and then we'll just go back to doing what we're doing. And then it, kind of blew up from there on us, I suppose.
And so I know that Donnie wasn't Donnie then, but like, why Donnie then? There must have been something. Like,
he looked pretty good, and he was a young, gettable guy. Like he's probably, I don't know. It's really hard to, and you can't compare it, but it's. Yeah, I don't. It's like going and getting like a Ryan Timms now, maybe, or like that 18, 20-year-old kid that looks good but isn't like at that level yet. So he was gettable. He was affordable. He was gettable.
Yeah.
We had a relationship with him already because he'd been out the year before and raced with Larry, doing the speedway thing here in Bunbury, which I knew him from the year when I was there, so that kind of led to beers in the pit area. Not getting back to beers, but that's how relationships are. And we all just kind of had that was there. And Jolesy at that point in time was working on Ron's car and our car. I can't exactly remember how that came about, but anyway, we ended up with Jolesy Keith Joles as a full-time mechanic, and he'd worked with Donnie the year before when he came out for Larry. So we said, all right, well. I went back to America in '99, flew over there with Jolesy, and the deal was just to go and get parts sorted for the deal with Donnie, stitch him up 100, or not stitch him up, but lock him in 100%, buy all the cars, get Maxims, get what we need, ship it all back. Like, we're going to put a team together that if we're in the position we can win the World Series. And this was before any weight rules, so we bought a new motor, like with the first ones with the super light block, like everything had holes in it. Like, we would have been, like 1,200 pound probably, or like super, super light, 1,100 pound. Like, the car would have weighed nothing. Qualifying wheels without bead locks on them and all this sort of caper.
Right. Right.
Oh, yeah, it was like full on, yeah.
That's 98, 99.
That was 99, yeah. So I flew over there and then ended up staying, actually. I ended up getting a job back with Eldon Racing and working for Hot again for those 3 months with Bonsai and Dave Kennard, who are still mates of mine now, which is cool. And then, come back, put the team together. I went on the road with Jolesy and Donnie, and it was like literally the three of us on the road. Shane would fly in on the weekends, come to the races, fly home. And did the World Series, and had a ton of fun. Like, and Donnie was still Donnie then. Like, he's like his level of competitor, or he was honing his skill, but he was good. Like, we won the first 6 straight, and we actually crashed our truck coming home. We went to Kalgoorlie round 1, won the race, coming home. Story's been told, but coming down the Green Mount, not down the Green Mount, down the Collie Hill. Ran out of brakes, and Jolesy was driving, shoved it into the back of a semi and squashed the cab. So we had to get we couldn't get a new cab. We had to go to door, pull the front of the cab out, fucking like welded the left front door on it. So we did literally did the whole World Series, the whole East Coast, and this was back when the World Series was like 18 rounds or something. It was pretty long. We had like 5 or 6 before Christmas.
Right.
And so it was me, Donnie and Jolesy in the truck, and we couldn't get through the left-hand front door, so you had to either climb over or just sit in the back. So we had this what would be 10-time World of Outlaw champion in our truck. It had the cab was that squashed. The overhead console used to fall down in your lap as you were driving, and it had that many wind and water leaks in it. We had all these, like back in the day, picture and post magazines, like jammed in this overhead console so that the wind wouldn't come through and you wouldn't get wet when you were driving it. And a left front window that you couldn't open. It was and door you couldn't open. It was.
It's crazy that like in going through all this, like this one truck seems to have such a reputation.
Yeah.
Like reading the book, that's like Donnie talks about the truck. Like you
truck
took
from hell. World Series gave us a trophy at the trophy night. The truck from hell. It was like this smashed up truck, like model thing that they painted gold and like present. We'd never even done the World Series before. Like, we'd never been. I had never even seen half of these tracks, like Nyora and Horsham and like wherever else. Like, didn't know it. Like, it's just never been there, never done it.
Do you reckon that first World Series, did that springboard like Krikke, you and Donnie, or did Donnie take a while?
No, he was good. Like he was on the trajectory then to be really good. Like I say, like he came out here and spanked a guy, or not spanked, but beat guys like Brooke and Fari and Kerry on tracks that he'd never seen before. That for guys that had raced on these tracks multiple times. If you go to Claremont, and you can beat someone like Brooke or even Braze in those days. There was talent in spades with him, absolutely.
Mate, sorry, I'm just trying to fix this thing.
We didn't. You're good.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
And we didn't have killer rent. We had like one decent Gertie motor it was back in the day, and then the other thing was our spare was like a 360, so we literally did the whole World Series on one car and one motor, more or less. Didn't win the series, should have ran second, but won the first 6 straight with him. We were just like, fuck, how easy is this? But he was next level already, and then that probably gave him more of an in over here, because then he's been obviously like a bit of a stalwart for the Americans, coming and going every season. Then he came back for Luch the next few years, and then some stuff in the East here with Rush and whatnot. Yeah,
is that like when you think back? Is that year with Donnie like the good old days, or is Jack the good old days? Like if you
all of it. It was certainly the stuff with Donnie and and winning those races and having that much fun was good. Certainly Jack, like the year of 96 that's like the proper like good old days. Like just their memories that you can just never get again. Just the whole other side of the world, the just everything's such an adventure. No phone, no email, no real, like, I don't know, I probably didn't call home at times for like 3 weeks. And my mum and dad would have had no idea where I was. No one did. Like I guess. I guess.
But you wouldn't have, like,
no,
do you remember how? You wouldn't
ring
remember
it up.
town.
I have no idea where we are. Mum's like, oh, where are you? Where'd you race last night? Like, I don't know. No idea where I am. Couldn't tell you. I'm just in a hotel room. They all look the same. It's crazy.
And then through that period, like you've just had, I don't know, like successful people always seem to have successful people. And I'm like, it can't be the drivers. Like it seems like KMS and like that saying that I keep thinking about, like, and everything I've ever heard about Shane is just, there's just one way to do things. Like that whole period there, like, were you always like that as a family, or is it your experiences with Jack and all of that?
Yeah, like it's not all, like it's, I mean, I can only take a very small part of the responsibility for any of that early on, because it was certainly driven by Shane. Like he was the captain at that point. I was a big influence on it. Like I worked on it full time for 12 months, 18 months or whatever. Did that first year on the road. Then every year after that, then we had Skip, and then every weekend, every year after that, me and him would just fly in. So he obviously value my opinion. I was really hands on back in those days. So I would like just fly in, do the racing Friday, Saturday, fly home on Sunday, go to work during the week. Next week, same thing. So like, but I can only take so much credit for any of that stuff, way back when, obviously, but it was a team, like we used to sit on planes for 10 hours, 12 hours a weekend and just talk nothing but racing and then we got there, we were just immersed in it, you were just in and around these guys, and all your friends were race people, and just like I barely had a friend network at home because I was just in the East every weekend, like it was crazy.
Do you think, like that year with Donnie, if you don't win those 6 or be successful, would you continue going back, do you think? Or was that one year
knows? I don't know. It was kind of like once you get the stuff and you've got the gear, and then it's all a bug anyway. It's all an addiction. Like, and once you get to that, there was a point in time. So had that year of just gone completely tits up and gone pear-shaped. We probably, who knows, we might have just said, fuck, it was like we just tore up how much money. We're not doing that again. That's crazy. And that probably would have been the best outcome now, because we'd probably be halfway normal people. But but then then opportunity, he wasn't coming back, but then there was another opportunity with Skip because his stuff with, his own team was changing because his American stuff was what it was. So then doors just kept opening, I suppose, and then you just keep, letting yourself in them and you just make all these friends and people, and then you just get in it. And now, there was a time actually where Shane was starting to get pretty tired of it. And I think Brooke, I hadn't read that book in quite a while, but then I went back and just flicked through it there the other day. And Brooke actually raises it in there that, there was a time where Shane was kind of pretty keen to kind of either scale back or we did have a conversation about it. He's like, how about you just do it? Like, I'm way too busy at work to be dealing with this. And I kind of thought that we had only just arrived at that point. Not arrived, I don't want to sound bullish about it or arrogant about it, but like I feel like we'd only just kind of started to get a real foothold on being one of the better teams and starting to get even or like success over a long period of time. I'm not like people come and go in Speedway a lot, and I feel like we've been a long-standing WA team, but on this national scene now I feel like we've been there for long enough, and if we were just to give it all away, then we're not that much better than the next person, but you want to be. So we sort of had to kind of get back to the well and kind of find some new motivation and kind of shift tact a little bit and get going again.
Was there ever a point, like I'm assuming you still have to work on your relationships with sponsors and stuff like that, but has there been a shift from you calling people to people calling you, like drivers or sponsors?
I think there's always people looking for you, looking for a ride. Definitely not some sponsors. A little bit have come our way, but typically they're hard to get, and we're lucky being in the industry that the car industry that kind of lends itself to motorsport routes as well. So like especially oil suppliers and stuff. Not that we've got leverage over them, but it comes back to relationships. But certainly, drivers. I actually had Carson Macedo ring me about 4 weeks ago after Dyson announced that he was parking up. Carson called me, who I know pretty well, and said, "Look, I'm not trying to tip Dayne out. You guys are super good, but if something was to happen, can I put my name in the list? And would you? I know you've done 2 cars with Kerry before. Would you consider doing that again?" And we had this half an hour conversation about where we're going and kind of where we're at with it. So the phone does ring. Like Kerry was one. He got wind that Jamie was going to go back to his own team, so he kind of reached out to me and said, "Look, this whole thing that I'm in at the moment is going to get parked up. You want to have a conversation about it?" And actually it wasn't that long. It was like Ryan straight to the point. I need a ride. So we can be like that. But certainly, I guess if you've been around long enough, then people and that was Carson's thing. Like he's like, there's plenty of rides around, but I don't want it to be one shit gear or a fly-by-nighter that, promises me the world this year and the next year, where are they type thing. So, certainly longevity helps. I think it gives guys faith and trust. And as much as race car drivers are, they all think they're badasses and the best in the world, and they've I'm not going to say full of their own shit, but they're obviously very confident people. They still need a network around them. They still need to be comfortable and confident. Yeah.
Mate, then just to go back through your history and then like knowing how long you've been mates with Kerry, is it crazy to think it took that long for Kerry to drive for you? Or like I know the speed humps and the drivers you had in, but it just seems like he would have been one of the first.
I really wanted to put him in, and I was like talking to Shane, and it kind of did fracture our relationship between me and Kerry a little bit at the time. We had. So where'd we go?
I've got the list here. So it looks like Donny Schatz, Skip Jackson, Mark Wells, Paul McMahon, Brooke Tatnell, Tim Kading, Jason Sides, Jamie Veal, J-Mac for one night, Kerry, Dayne.
Yeah, so it must have been maybe when Wellsy was in the car. Like that was pretty evident that was going to be a 1-year deal. Like it's not how we started out, but it's how it finished. You know, we didn't go anywhere near as well as we thought we would with him. And it was a gamble, you know, to take a local guy and do that. It's probably like us taking Dayne now on the road, but our expectation was we're going to go really well, but we didn't go that well. So yeah, I remember talking to Kerry at the time, and you know, I was like so keen to give him a ride the next year, and mine and Kerry relationship was not what Shane's and Kerry's relationship was, and Shane's relationship with Brooke was not what my relationship was with Brooke. So, and to be fair, at that point, Brooke was probably a little further along than what Kerry was, I guess, at the time. And Kerry hasn't always been the most polished person, but Brooke kind of has, you know, like they've always had the big team, the Shell Helix and all this, and they've always been in their gear, and that was the shit that Shane liked, you know, always in your gear and tuck your shirts in, and so they were probably better aligned. And then, so the thing with Wellesley didn't work out, but then I guess Shane was having conversations with Brooke, and then it just became, you know, Brooke won the Aussie title in Murray Bridge, and then, you know, that's kind of the way we went, and I think Kerry got a bit salty about it, and he was kind of a bit funny toward me for a couple of years, and not that I really saw a lot of him, because it was really only in passing at racetracks and stuff. But yeah, you could sort of, which I wasn't, you know, it was not my decision at the time. I would have put him in there then, but that's, I guess, you know, Brooke was the man at the time, and he got the gig. So Kerry did race for us at the national title in Brisbane when TK was racing for us, because he couldn't race for us, being an American.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the story was. Maybe, maybe he's that American, that Aussie team. I don't think the guy's name. The American racing team. Well, it wasn't that then, but
that Gavranich, is it?
Yeah, sorry, Bob's. Bob? Yeah, he might not have had the Australian team. I think it might have been all in the US at that point. Like they had that big operation over there. So we got Kerry in to do that one race in Brisbane. The national title, I think we ran 5th or 6th or something. But yeah, so that was kind of the first time. And then, you know, when I, not when I took over, but then when it was my decision to make after things didn't work out with Jamie for the year, Kerry was available, and it was just perfect.
Yeah, I wonder, like, are you, with the car, are you like a little bit like possessive, you know what I mean? Like you put, it's to the drivers, to everyone, it's just a sprint car team and a sprint car, but like your whole life, like you contribute so much of your time, your finances, your effort, your mental power. Like, are you a little bit like possessive over it? Like it's not like you just, no one can get in it.
You don't, no, it's, you're going to be really selective, aren't you?
Yeah.
I don't think possessive, like certainly you just want to put the best guy in that you think he's going to do, which is where Dayne was a really good fit when we needed it. You know, just like one, you want to win races, but then they actually spend more time out of the car than in it. So they've got to be the right guy around your crew guys. You can't have someone that's abrasive that's going to upset all your crew guys, because it's hard work doing it on your own. So that needs to be right.
Yeah, I've never thought of that.
Yeah, they need to be good with fans. You know, they need to stop for the picture, do the signatures. You know, they need to do interviews. They need to do photos. Like the racing is what it's all defined of, but it's like football. You know, like there's a lot of roles to it, you know.
Yeah, so, I suppose the on-track stuff would just be a small part of it, really. Like if you're pissing everyone off, sponsors, and then even the speedway, like I can't believe how professional it is, and it's still hard to get crew guys. Like, you know what I mean? It's the most amateur professional sport in the world.
Yeah, well, I guess we, you know, like a whole nother level, but I guess we saw what happened with Larson when you don't do and say the right things a couple of years ago, you know, when he got tipped out. We're obviously not at that level, but it's, you know, that's how important it is. Like
nearly. If you start saying stuff like that, I don't know if you'd be in a seat.
No, exactly, no.
Like
and
here in Perth.
Yeah, and that was my big thing with putting Dayne in it was, you know, he's a good kid from a good family, and he just does and says the right stuff. He's super respectful. What his ability is in the sprint car is unknown at that point, but I know he's a good dude out of the car. So that's like 75% done, 25% just don't wreck all our shit and just keep the door open on the shop for the next 12 months. Yeah. And then, you know, I didn't know it was going to turn into 5 years, or 4 years. But, they've got to be the right person in and out of the car.
Yeah. So with that, like, I guess Brooke Tatnell and KMS were synonymous with one another for 10 years.
Yeah, that was a long partnership.
And that
it just steered itself.
Yeah.
Literally.
So that was tied in with Shane and him being so close. Like,
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure if you want to speak about Shane or not, but the decision post like Brooke's seat, like how hard was that period?
Yeah, so to like tip him out, you mean?
Yeah, well, how that worked, I'm not sure.
I mean, I was like super good mates with Brooke while he was in the car, and I'm still mates with him now. Like, I would not walk past him without saying g'day or stop him for a chat. And if you have a chat with Brooke, it can be lengthy, but I would like I just I haven't shunned him just because we don't race together or work together anymore. But his relationship with Shane was, they were basically the same age. They grew up racing against each other from time to time. So they had a really strong connection. I did have to make the phone call to him to tell him that we were going to do something else, and there was reasons around that at the time. Yeah, so that wasn't that much fun. Like he can be pretty explosive, Brooke, and he let me have it. He didn't agree with me.
I've heard, like, not Brooke at all, but like a lot of people about it. But like my thought process is behind it. It's a privilege, like you said. Pressure's a privilege, but like what they get to do is a privilege. To like lose your shit because you want to go in a different way. It just seems odd that some, like, I can understand disappointed, but the anger or other things, it just seems odd. Like it's a pressure to even be put in a seat. Pleasure.
Yeah, and like it was a big part of his life. Like it was his livelihood, so it was no different to walking into your workshop or anywhere and just going, mate, you don't work here anymore. Like, and there was no nice way to put it. And he didn't like Jamie at the time, and he kind of had an inkling that something might have been going on because Dylan, who was our crew chief at the time, him and Jamie were good together, working together. They'd done a couple of stints in the US, and then like our season here with Brooke was like the first season after Shayna passed away. It was like it wasn't great. I think we were like third or fourth maybe in the series, and it just was it was hard work. And off the back of Shane dying, and then me kind of trying to get my head around life again. It was a lot like when the boys died. It was, and the scenario wasn't similar to the same, but it was, I was heavily involved in Shane's passing at the time. When it happened, it was, I was, bedside when he passed, and we had to, he was basically on life support for the last 24 hours of his life. We had to make the decision to turn that off as a family. There was myself, his daughter, his wife, mum and dad, my now wife, Louise. So that's a lot to deal with. And then we went racing pretty soon after, because it's actually 9 years tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to the day. And then so to pick the pieces up, and Dilzo was actually in America with Jamie when it happened. Him and Dilzo and Veal flew back for the funeral, which was good. And I met with him here before he went back, and I was like, mate, fuck, what do we do now? And he's like, you don't need to worry about anything I'm doing here. It's like, it's under control. If you're up to it, this won't affect KMS at all, which I had great faith in him. So he comes back from the US. We put the team together. We go on the road, and it was all new to me. Like running it actually, because him and Shane Brooke were kind of tight. That management level didn't really involve me. It just kind of to me it sort of steered itself. And kind of toward the end of the year, Dilzo said, mate, I think we need to make a change here. This is kind of, he's worn me out. We can get Jamie. And Jamie won everything that year. He won the Classic, won the World Series. He had one his breakout year probably. He's like, I reckon I can get Veal to come and race for us. So I was like, well, what do you do? I got this guy that, I'm mates with, but I don't really have the relationship. Well, we got the hottest guy in the country that wants to come and race for you. That's like on the exact same page as the crew chief. What option do you have? So did the deal with Jamie, make sure that was watertight. And that which you feel bad about anyway, because you're going behind someone's back and it's not what you want to do, but it's the order you have to do it in. You know, if you go and fire Brooke and then Jamie wakes up at the 11th hour and says, "No, I don't want to go." You're like, "Fuck, now what?" Like, Brooke, remember me? Like, so you can't do that. So got that locked away, and then had to ring Brooke, and it was pretty well straight. I just had to be straight up with him. I'm like, "Mate, this is not the phone call I want to make, but I'm doing something different with the team next year." Barking. He go, and I just let him go. I was like, "Mate, I know, I get it. You're upset, like you barking your brother." And it's like, and everything at that point was like, your brother wouldn't have done this. Your brother wouldn't have done this. Your brother wouldn't have done
That's
this.
not fair.
Yeah, but it's just happened. So it's just like, and you're
Passion.
like, well, I know he wouldn't have, but fucking I am. So too bad. And then I let him just just say his piece, and then I actually called him back about 2 or 3 days later and returned serve, and we've been probably okay ever since, I suppose.
During like the research, I keep on saying that, but I don't know why I research heaps for this, interviews, all that sort of stuff. One of my questions was like, after Shane passed away, I've heard you always speak about like the nuts and bolts of Bunbury Toyota, Bunbury Subaru, that you guys ran one another, and you had to go and take over both, then the team and stuff like that. But did you ever get time for yourself? Like, you had to look after X, Y, and Z, and you've even spoken about the family and mum and dad and his family stuff. But like, did you ever take time for yourself, or is that
nah?
Okay.
There was no time. Like it doesn't stand still. Like it doesn't. There's no like, okay, you've been through a tragedy, we'll just park you in the corner for a week or two until you get your shit together. It was like, okay. I mean, and there was a massive change for Dad, right? He had to go back into, because he was kind of transitioning out of Toyota at that point in time. So he had to come kind of back into work and kind of figure that, kind of try and get his head back around that at ground level, which he hadn't really been at. And I was kind of still over at Subaru doing my thing, and I think I only had it was a Sunday when he passed, and then I think maybe that next week, which was just a blur. You're planning funerals and you're doing this and you're doing that, and we were all involved in the whole process. Then it happens. Like Monday, you wake up and go to work, and it's your desk is to your office is like nothing's changed. Like the phone's still ringing, people are still coming. Like it's just nothing changes, and it's just like I got to keep going here. Like you just got to keep the wheels turning. And then I kind of started to get across to Toyota a bit. I didn't like, Dad was sort of had a bit of not pressure on me, but he's like, you need to come across and start taking a bit more ownership over there. And I had my ass hanging out at Subaru still, but I'd kind of go to Subaru till lunchtime and then go to Toyota in the Arvo. And I was really just trying to figure out, I knew everybody who worked there, but didn't have really a relationship with them, because it was just kind of see him at social functions, or I kind of had my own little thing to look after, and this wasn't really my concern. It was, but it wasn't. So I had to kind of go and build relationships and build bridges over there, and kind of try and figure everything else out that goes with it. And then and then the race car stuff obviously as well. And quite a no longer and Shane was my best mate, like hands down. Like I said, we used to fly to every race together on Fridays and get up to all sorts of mischief when we're away. Like we used to go to Adelaide and we'd race on the Saturday night. We'd be on the first flight out on Friday, and there was a little pub at the Cross Keys we used to go to, and all the teams used to go there on Friday afternoon and just get on the beers and end up back in the room, having pizza and just on the piss all night, and just like how much fun, like knocking the corners off rental cars and just all this sort of caper. And like that person was gone. Now I'm like flying to races on my own, and it's hard work, because I don't really, that relationship with the driver, the crew chair, I was like always best mates with Dilzo, but and then you got to start making changes. The more changes that you make, and the more it becomes your own, the easier it is. It's a little bit like that at work. If somebody needs to be marched out the door or needs to be fired, first of all, who hired them? Oh, they did. All right, it was their job. Like so it's a little bit. It's just an ownership thing, I think. The more you replace the pieces, the easier they are to kind of put in the right spot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So then Brooke went. He wasn't wrapped, and Jamie come on board, and that probably didn't go ideally either, which was weird. I thought that we were going to have the best combination in the country there. Like Dilzo and him were best mates. I was really good mates with him. Like we had a ton of fun the year before when I was out on the road, and we started okay, and then we just kind of like he really struggled with our motors, and then that kind of pissed me off because we'd been so good for so long, and we're fucking slinging camshafts and these things every other week, and changing cars and trying different shocks, putting his shocks on, and just, it took us all year to figure it out, which I was really surprised at because him and Dilzo were really good in the US together. And anyway, by the time we got to the end of the season, we won the boys race actually both nights out here with him, which was super good. That was kind of the relationship between him and Dilzo, and kind of myself had sort of dissolved, and Dilzo, I'm not going to say he sided with me, but he stayed put. Jamie went back to his own team, and then kind of, I was literally talking to Dylan about, fuck, who do we get now? Who's out there even? What do we do? And then, Kerry, I got a message from Kerry, and we kind of hashed out a deal, and it was really kind of the same deal that Brooke was on, the same deal that Jamie was on, and the same deal got carried through to Kerry, and he drove the cars. We were on cool cars with Brooke, and then there was no way Jamie was going to drive a cool car. Like Veals and Cool both live in Warrnambool, and John Cooley live in Warrnambool, and I guess there's a bit of history there. So there was no way he was going to drive a cool car, and we'd been in cool cars for a very long time. So that was another phone call I had to make. Cooley, we're not going to use your cars. We're getting Madsens. Like just that's what Jamie wants. And, anyway,
good times.
Yeah, thankfully John's still pretty good with us. So made the move to Maxim, and then Kerry came, and he's like, I'll just drive whatever you got, dished wings, Maxims, Kerry, Jamie spec, whatever. I'll just come race for you. So went on the road with him and Dilzo, and that was we did the 1 year with that stuff, and then we obviously could see the future with Kerry, so we ordered cars to suit him and changed our wing program and changed the whole program then to suit Kerry, and kind of
First thing I want to talk about, it's not Jamie Veal specifically, but do you think that there's an element of that not working with someone who can afford to fund their own deal driving for someone else? Like,
super wary of guys with their own operations,
because they can always just go back.
Yeah, I never thought about it since then. And Jamie's like super talented, super good. What's the word for him? Like hyper. He's hypersensitive. He should be a Formula One driver. Like he measures and feels things really well. And because he was so good in his operation the year prior, coming to our stuff where he couldn't get that feeling that he was chasing, it just didn't happen. That made it really hard to kind of try and get him to get comfortable, and the whole program sort of suffered from that.
Because I always think that they
answer
don't.
Your question? I don't even know what your question was.
Yes, sort of.
I don't remember where it started.
But I feel like when the guys that can afford to do their own thing, they don't have to make your deal work.
Nah.
And it's not like if like say Dayne, if I don't make this work, then I'm out of a car. Whereas he was like, I don't like people who can afford can just go, well, I could just go back to my own thing.
He went back, and other than driving Lucha's car here and there and some other stuff, I don't think he's done much more, but which is fine. Like he's super comfortable in his own stuff and super successful, so if you can get the personnel to work on it, why change it? In the time that we had him, we ran one of his frames, we ran his shocks, we ran one of his motors, they're all they're small things at the time, but I had to call Pete Morris and say, mate, we're putting one of Jamie's riders in just to see if this can get, not raps, but, the conversations that you got to have, coolly, we're not using your cars anymore. Wayne Randall,
relationships that you've already formed. Yep.
And then, what's the knock on to that? Wayne, we're not going to use, we're putting FKs on this weekend at the title or whatever. It's all knock on stuff. Yeah.
But through the process of taking over the team and stuff like that, obviously Shane would have been somewhat of a mentor to you, or a massive mentor. Yeah. Who would you lean on post that? Like in terms of is there someone, maybe, I don't know if you're with your partner at the time or anything, but you're going, fuck, I've got to turf Tatnell out. Is there anyone you would lean on for that sort of stuff?
Not really, and I'm not really one to take any of this stuff home, to be honest. In the morning when we race now, I'll wake up and it could get to it. Speedway may not even get raised all day. I come home at 2 in the morning, have a shower, get into bed, and get up the next day. And it's like, if it's been good, my Miss Louise will be like, oh, that was so good. If it's been, because she'll read the social media, whatever, and see it. And she won't even raise it, like nothing. Or Mason, my 7-year-old, he's right into it. He might raise it. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's good, mate. It was a good night. Third, no, it was good. But then that'll be it. Like, we don't talk about it. We don't dissect it. I'm not like, fuck, I don't know what to do here. Like,
yeah, okay.
And same with work stuff, like, how's your day? Yeah, good. Like, I just don't really... Yeah, I don't know. But so I never really had anyone to kind of lean on. I did have some pretty lengthy conversations with Buzzy when Dilzo was here. He was probably my biggest sounding board, I suppose, back in those days. Otherwise just, crew guys, but really just find your way. Just figure it out. Just find your way.
And with that then, Dylan obviously departed. Was that for other opportunities or the same thing? Did that something just not work out?
No,
okay.
Yeah, so we must have been second year with Kerry. So Maddie came on board, I think Maddie came on board either the first year, maybe the second year with Kerry, Matty Cochran, who's crew chief now. He came on board as a tyre guy. So he was with us, our first year with Dylan and Kerry. And then he's a chippy by trade, a builder. So he kind of did it for a year and he's like, I'm better off working for myself money-wise. Obviously we're not paying the second guy massive money and it's seasonal anyway. So it sort of got to the end of the year. He goes back to his hammer and nails. And then Dilzo, we worked through the next year with Kerry and then the third year, I guess, Dylan's going back to the States and then and Dilzo went back and actually worked for Kerry over there on the big game car or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah, the two.
Yes, I guess that's the car that Gravel's in now. Yeah, it was Todd Queering's car, yeah. So he went back and was working for Kerry on that and I'm like, this... I'm dubious, but I'm like, if this works, it's going to be really good. And I went to the US that year and I went to the Nationals and camped at the track. Funny how relationships go. Shane Stewart had this parking spot we camped at the campground, at the track, 100 metres from turn 4, I guess, parked in there. I'm with Owen Kelly, who was a sponsor at the time, TH. We're parked up. There's Andy Hillenberg's in one spot, Shane Stewart's in another, someone else is there, Rico's parked there. One afternoon, Steve comes over and gets on the beers with Andy and we're just sitting around and literally Andy and Steve are sitting where you are and they're just on the piss flat out this Friday afternoon or whatever it was with the Nationals. I'm just sitting there engaging in conversation with them, and this is where Speedway takes you. Your heroes are reachable. They're all, everyone, you just, and they're also such normal people. So anyway, the team wasn't going that great and I'm talking to Kerry there and he's like, no, he's like, I'm definitely coming back. If Kerry tells me he's coming back, he's coming back. I'm definitely coming back. Yeah, okay, no worries. Talking to Dilzo, he's like, yeah, no, I'll be home in 2 weeks. Originally, he was going to come home straight after the Nationals. And then, I get there, he's like, oh, I'm not coming home for another couple of weeks. And I'm like, hey, we're going to start to get tight for time. No, I'll be home in 30th of August, whatever it is. And I'm like, absolutely, word. And he's like, yeah, I'm coming back. And I had no reason not to believe him at that point. So the days tick over and I'm talking to Kerry and then Dylan got the arse from the team there straight after the Nationals. I think he got let go by that 2-car team, and then he kind of goes off into the wilderness a little bit. I lose contact with him and I'm like, fuck, I can see what's going to happen here. And you just hear it, Australian mechanics go over and. He met his now wife there. I met her while I was there. It was all good. Then Dylan was like, that's why I work for in Australia. How you going? Whatever. It was all good. And then and then he just eventually he's. Then we're starting to get tight on time leading into the start of World Series, and he's like, why don't we get? And he's talking to me like he's got some contact, and he's like, why don't we just get someone to put the cars together and I'll just fly straight in before the World Series and we'll just go do it and then we'll figure out from there. And I'm like, yeah, all right, well, maybe that'll work. I'm like, who are we going to get? And he's like, get Matty. And I'm like, mate, he's going back to his business. He's, a builder, making his own good money doing that. He's like, well, just try him. So I ring Matty and I'm like, mate, we need someone to work on our stuff. Do you want to come and do it for a bit? And he's like, yeah, you know what? I've actually got the shits with building at the moment. So yeah, I will. So he walks into our shop. And there's just shit everywhere. Like, and we're about 4 weeks away from racing, and he's got to figure it out. And it just like, he's talking to me just like, what the fuck? Like, and I think this might have been, I reckon that red 40-year anniversary car, that thing that was like red on red with TH on it.
Yeah.
I reckon that was his first year. So I'm like, mate, it's our 40th year. It was, because when I was over there at the Natties, I went and sat with Blackbeard with Sean for like a whole day from like 9 till 5 in the Arvo at where Casey works there at a car dealership in Knoxville, and just like come up with that design and the colours and everything. Like, we just sat there in front of a laptop for hours just like getting it. I was so anal about it. 40th year, it's got to be big. Then I got this drama with Dylan not coming back, and then Matt's trying to pick up the pieces, and then just like we've drawn all this attention to ourselves because it's our 40th year. And so then in the end, Dill's was like, mate, I don't think I'm going to get back there. It's like, fuck, what do you mean? He's like, I just don't think I'm going to get back. I'm like, mate, what do you mean? You never even liked it over there. You always hated it. You just went for the race. And he's like, I guess I've just never been around the right people. Now I've got this misso here, and I've got, like some opportunities. And I was like, what am I going to do? I'm talking to Buzzy about this, and I'm like, mate, go to America and get him. Like, you got to bring him home. Like, mate, what am I going to do? He's like, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? He's my kid. He's gone. Like, he's like, no, he's, so anyway. Then Matty, he stood right up to the challenge, and then we had to go and get another crew guy, and we had Chad from Maxwell's come with us on speedway, which was really good because that was probably an area. And keep in mind that at this point, Matty had never been a crew chief. He'd been Dayne's crew chief on his speed car, but he'd never been the crew chief on a sprint car. Not much. He'd been more than a tyre guy, but certainly not one to put fuel to the motor and like dyno and shocks and all this sort of stuff. So went out and did the World Series, and we ran second and almost had a chance to win it up until the final night in Perth. He just stood right up, and him and Kerry got along really well from word go, and it's a chemistry thing. They have to get along, and I think that was the whole thing with the team. Like, there was, obviously me and Kerry, a lot of history and a good relationship. Matty, it just kind of worked, and that was kind of the start of Matty's career, and then then COVID came, so it was kind of like the end of Kerry's full-time gig with us through had COVID not come along, who knows how it would look. Would World Series still be there, and would we be still doing it with Kerry? Probably, because I don't think, things don't change. They stay the way they are. So it's probably, it was obviously worked in Dayne's favour and worked in, I'm not going to say worked in Matty's favour, but it's, given him the opportunity to work with one of his best mates and pick up where they left off with the speed car. And it's been a really good thing for the team since,
Is there, at any point in Australia, is like a driver, is it a contractor, or is it all just a handshake? Is there anyone signing contracts or anything like that? There's
not a lot of workplace agreements or employee handbooks. I don't think unfair dismissal is a thing. No. In fact, we've unceremoniously departed with the crew guy in Brisbane. Quite a deals I did quite a few years ago. This guy just wasn't going to work, and he came back from wherever he was, and deals rang me, and he's like, I'm just going to fucking leave him here. And I'm like, you can't, mate. And he's like, no, fuck him. And then 5 minutes later, my phone rings, and it's this guy, Ben. He's like, mate, Dilzo just sacked me. Fucking, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't think it's going to work, man. He's like, well, fuck, you can do something about it. I'm like, mate, what do you want me to do? He's like, I'm literally sitting on the curb with my bag. Like, I'm not even allowed to go back in the trailer. So I don't even know how that, I don't even know how, I would have loved to have been on the other side of the car park watching Dilzo just wave his arms around. But so we turfed him out. So workplace, the like unfair dismissal and, workplace agreements are not something that's overly prevalent in Speedway.
Is it, when you said just then about like Matty and Dayne and that, is you and Kerry like meeting back up almost just like them? Like they had this whole, the midget deal. I know it's like Cochrane, Shearing and Sheds, and then Bunbury Subaru. Like that was them. They were travelling everywhere. They separate, but then they come back at Krikke. Like that's pretty crazy that it's reasonably similar to you and Kerry.
Yeah, and like we were talking about at the start of the conversation, like it's a pretty small network of people, really. Like it's, and there's obviously been people, like a lot of people have left the sport that I've had relationships as well. But obviously yeah, having him come back was super cool. You know, like he's always been one of my really good mates. I'm really good mates with Ian as well. You know, it's good to see him get through what he was going through and get back in the sport now. That's so good. Yeah, it was just fun, just easy. Like Kerry stayed at my house. I mean, all these guys stayed at my house over time. But yeah, you know, have Kerry stay at your house. You got to have a fair bit in your back fridge if he's staying at your house. But yeah, you know, you sit up and you just have those conversations and you just look after them. Like you just, you know, you don't. You know, I had a spare unit here in town, and I literally just gave Kerry the keys and a car, and I'm just like, mate, when you want to. Then I also had my youngest son come along, so it was a little bit more restricted. But well, actually, Mason was born when Jamie was staying with us. Yeah, so it was literally just you know, I'll leave you alone. You just reach me. Even last time he was in town, Kerry was in town here with the 26 guys. He come round one night for a barbecue and a few beers, and he was out the back playing, you know, games with Mason, and Mason took $10 off him playing cornhole or whatever. So he's not this unapproachable, like angry
madman.
No, we actually internally we call him Samaritan Man, because he's just this guy that wants to help all these people. Like we're at the, I've told this story at the Warrnambool breakfast a couple of years ago. We were leaving the Woolworths in Warrnambool there, and we got, you know, bags of, you know, whatever we're taking to the car and the truck. You know, staying in a house there with him, and yeah, and this lady and her daughter's got like all these shopping bags, and the daughter couldn't carry. He's like, oh, I'll help you. So he puts down everything that we've got, and he goes and like helps this lady and daughter who nobody's ever seen before. No one knows them, and kind of carts all the stuff out and like loads it in the boot with the lady. All right, see you later. And just, yeah, he's not this like this mad man that. Yeah. Trevor Green actually gave him that name, incidentally.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, in a race, I reckon it was a Claremont. They race the shit out of each other, and then Greenie gets out and he's like, "You're not fucking Madsen, you're the fucking madman," and like it's just stuck, and it's kind of fitted him. He's got two personas for sure. He's.
And then yeah, obviously you spoke about how COVID came along, and Madsen obviously couldn't come back. Like then Dayne Kingshott took the seat. Like, was he? I know heaps of stuff would have happened, but was there like almost like a seed in your head the whole time? Did that come together late? Like how did it?
I guess you've always got to be thinking like, and it's not about this move, but it's about the one after that. So like it's you know, it's all right to go and put Kerry in it, but then what happens next? Or yeah, so I actually had I just thought it would be really cool for Dayne to have a skid in a sprint. He had been in a sprint car. I think he might have done a night in Luch's, but nothing he could really sink his teeth into. And I've always rated him like highly as a driver, ability wise. So yeah, I actually put him in the car on a practice night at the end of the year before that with Matty. I just thought, and I just said to Matty, I said, I reckon it'd be cool for everything that you guys have done. I think maybe he'd already announced his retirement from speed cars or something because he was selling up. Yeah, I said to Matty, I reckon it'd be cool if you guys just went to practice and just made laps in the sprint car together. I don't even think I went, but I was like, I reckon that'd be just cool for you guys to do while he's still in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they went and did it and just cut laps. Like, I don't even know how they went. I don't even think I went. I was probably pretty dismissive of it at the time. I was just like, you know, just go and do your thing, just bring it back in one bit, for fuck's sake. So yeah, and then yeah, COVID came and it was like, all right, shit, what do we, along with all the other decisions that you were making around business, particularly at that point in time, because you had to manage your people and, you know, like we're in retail. What is retail without customers, which would taken away. So yeah, obviously there was a fair bit going on there, but I guess it just kept you really engaged. And then it was like, all right, I don't want to. The easy thing would have been just to like, Matty, you just go back to banging nails in the wall, and we'll just pull the door down, and we'll see you in 12 months, and all this shit blows over or whatever. But I didn't really want to let that. I just knew that if momentum's everything, and if you just let it, if you let it go, it was going to be hard to get going again, I thought. And too driven for that. I wasn't too proud, I suppose. So yeah, so I met with Matty, and I was like, you reckon Dayne would do it? Like just do a year here? Because Perth was still happening. Like every other state was full lockdown, no racing anywhere. But Perth, yeah, had a full calendar and like perfect segue to just blood him into it, you know. He's like, yeah, I reckon he probably would. He's pretty keen. So,
I reckon he would.
Yeah, so, but I think he was pretty comfortable too, like not getting away from racing for a minute because his kids were a little bit older, or not a little bit older, but getting to that stage where they need a bit more attention. They're about my kid's age. So yeah, I think he was pretty comfortable laying on the lounge, watching the footy every weekend and just watching from afar. And then who knew what speedway season was going to look like, or even the footy season with COVID, like everything was on its head. So I called him up. I got Matt to team up for a meeting here one day, and he used to come here he still does, come here just about every lunchtime. His work's only a K around the corner. He pulls up, wanders in, "Okay, mate, how you going? Yeah, good." And I was probably nervous because I knew what was coming. And it doesn't matter who you've ever had these conversations with. When you're going to ask someone to do something for you, it needs to be. And this is a big responsibility, and he might have been like that. And I really needed it to work because, to be honest, I didn't have many options. Even though I probably think I did, I probably didn't. So I just said to him, "Mate, I really we're going to need a new driver because Kerry's not coming back, and I think you're the guy. I think I'm looking at him." It's like, "Oh fuck, well, yeah, I want you to race it next season." It's like, "Fuck, really?" And then he was literally in tears. He was, and they're the kind of moments you live for, to give somebody their break, or we've done it with Pete Capon, we did it with Dilza, we did it with Maddie, just give the opportunities. And it was such a rare thing for us to do because we'd always had, a Brooke, a Kerry, a Veal, a TK, McMahon, Sides, James, they're all
established.
We're not really blooding the sport. We're kind of just using what's already there. But we brought some younger crew chiefs in, and anyway, he was obviously pretty keen on it. So went and practiced the first couple of nights, and it's really flourished and grown from there, I suppose. Yeah.
Is that the best? Is that the best moment for you, asking a driver to come? Because I know Kerry would appreciate it, but and all the drivers would appreciate it, but nothing like what Dayne would have. Is that the best conversation you've had?
Certainly easier than the one I had to have with Brooke. Yeah, that's right. Completely different because when you're dealing with guys like Brooke and Jamie, and I didn't deal with TK at the time, and Kerry, it's kind of because it's kind of, and they don't take it for granted, but it's kind of they have a certain point of leverage over you, whereas Dayne had absolutely nothing. He had, they kind of almost think that you're doing them a favour, or they're doing you a favour by coming to drive your car and doing the job for you. Yeah, I know, but that's the way drivers are.
Yeah,
and
I bet.
They've spent 30, 40 years gaining that reputation, and that it's when you hire somebody with experience, you really, at that point, you're paying them for their experience. You're not paying them for the job that they haven't done yet.
That makes sense.
So that's kind of the way it's always been. And then, so Dayne was, he was obviously pretty appreciative and still is, today. And it's, it obviously worked out really, really well. It was, and he's been really good with it. It's, it's all right now. He's our driver, couple trophies there. In the early piece, he was asked to step aside pretty often, for Kerry. And I was very clear with him that, mate, this is 1 year. Don't fucking wreck all our shit. You need to do the right thing in the car. More importantly, you need to do the right thing outside of the car. This is the best that you can do is build your stock, build your value, so that when Kerry comes back next year, somebody might give you a ride. I didn't promise him anything other than the 1 year. I said to be good in the car, be extra good out of the car. That was the message. I said there is no pressure. Understand this car might bring pressure, whatever, but we're not on the road now. It's a new game. It's just take all the pressure away. I know you're going to put it on yourself, but there's none from us at all. Just do what you just make laps. Don't make us look stupid. Don't wreck everything, and be really good out of the car. Someone will give you an opportunity, and then obviously COVID turned into 2 years, or then I guess we had Kerry come back, and Dayne was really good with my whole kind of thought process on it all when I was asking him to step out because Kerry's coming back, and it was never oh, this is fucking my ride, he's not coming back. If you put him in, I'm going. There was none of that. He was always really understanding, and I think he is smart enough to know that if you can be around smart people, some of it will rub off, and somebody with Kerry's experience and the way that Kerry thinks, and I was just pick his brain. He's probably not going to tell you much. If you ask him, he'll answer, but he's not the sort of guy to come forward and go, hey, this is what he's not he's an introvert. He's not an extrovert. He's not going to give you everything. So Dayne was really patient, really good in basically stepping aside, letting Kerry come and do those bigger races. We took him to the Classic those couple of years to be around it, expose him to those races. I'm sure he's been as a fan, but just to expose him to what it looks like to go there with us and someone like Kerry. And you go to the Classic with Kerry, like you're busy, like Kerry's a workaholic at the track. Like he's always at the pit gate. He's always like, mate, we need to do this. Fuck, we need to be better. We need to be this. We need to be that. So just watch how he operates and just pick his brain. Like I'm sure Dayne got a ton of knowledge by just sitting around the house. And we're a tight knit group, so we don't stay in hotels. We stay in houses. Just sitting around the house till, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, drinking Crown Royal, just talking racing and just picking each other's brains and talking shit. Just be around it. Just take those little nuggets off him. And now I believe that's all been a massive part of him, of Dayne getting to where he is now. Just being that leech, just sucking the information out of him, just exposing him. We did the 2 cars at the title, which Dayne was really on the wrong end of all that. We gave Kerry all the best gear, and Dayne had a car that had already been knocked about, which wasn't any good. I flew Moth over, Tim Gleeson over to be the crew chief for Dayne, which worked really well. That worked out super good. But yeah, he was really patient through it all, and then I guess this year was righto, mate, I'm not going to use Kerry. So then I had to go back and have another one of those conversations, mate, Kerry, you need to find a ride because I don't really have anything for you. And he was probably starting to figure it out because it was less and less each year and more of Dayne. It was like an obvious, outside looking in, maybe not, but to me I had this obvious transition period, and I could see where the future was going to be. Like it's racing domestically now, like in WA, is really good, and there's not a lot on the East Coast, so it didn't really, it just didn't make sense to me to get someone like Kerry out to have him sit around for 6 months. Or he's not going to do that. He's got commitments in the US and his house and missus and everything else over there, so he's not going to come and sit here for 6 months to race once a week. Whereas you get someone that's talented that just hasn't had the go or hasn't had the opportunity in this equipment with someone like Matt that lives in Bunbury. Like, to me, it was a no-brainer. We're going to race for this series, 24 grand last year, 25. We've made good money the last couple of years. We're in the mix in these bigger races, and WA is still where it's at, regardless of what happens with the series. But so the transition was just kind of perfect to me. And he was, Dayne, to his credit, and we've end of last year, we met up here after the final night. We had a few beers, and I kind of got everyone together, and I said, all right, we need to just acknowledge why we're here. And I think Dayne, at that point I was like, mate, you put up with getting fucking tipped out. You came to the Classic as a spectator, not much more. Yes, you got something out of it, but drivers are not good at that. They're not good at that.
You have to have an ego.
You got to, massively, yeah. And that was his car. Like, that was his, when Kerry came out for the title, Dayne had to get all his shit out of the helmet cabinet and go work out of the trailer next door. That wasn't what this one is. But he did it. He understood it. He knew the reasons why. And 2 years later, he's, two-time champion of the SCG series. It's not an Australian title, and it's not Knoxville Nationals, but it's for what we're doing. He's as good as he can get here.
Is
result-wise.
I'm not sure if you can even answer it, but so I'll just say it from my point. Like, it felt like Krikke Motorsports was like Brooke Tatnell for a while, and then Kerry, never really asserted his name alongside it. But I feel like now, forever, I'll think about Krikke's and Dayne. I know you've had plenty, but what he's been like, his interviews, how appreciative he is, and maybe his apprenticeship, that soft launch is the best possible approach you could have. No pressure initially. He's not junking any cars when he doesn't need to because he's not fighting for a spot. And he could ease his way into it. I think the driver he's turned into. Could you have ever even hoped for this?
I guess the first half of your question, do I feel like Kerry was ever part of the furniture, I suppose, is what you were getting at there. Like Brooke certainly was. Kerry's just not that type of person. Like he's not, and that's not saying anything, disrespectful.
Just personality.
Yeah. It's like I know him well enough that is just not the way he is. Like you are lucky when you see him for the first time in 9 months, when you're picking him up at the airport, you're like flat out getting a handshake out of him. Like it's just the way he is.
Yeah.
Like that's and you know that and it's like barely like, where you been? Like what's been going on? Like not like, hey man, fuck, it's so good to see you. Like high five and a cuddle, like a hug. Like there's none of hug. There's none of that. It's just like, all right, what's been going on? Get in the car, carry on. Like it's just the way he is. It's just, and Ian's a lot the same. It's just their personality. But could I ever imagine it turning out the way it has? I think the team's in a really good space right now. Like and we've had some good success. Dayne has got ability in spades and has come a very long way in a pretty short amount of time. When you look at somebody like Callum or Taylor or Andrew Priola, those guys have been doing it a very long time. Jason, those guys have been doing this stuff for a long time. Dayne is still a rookie in comparison to that. People forget that Callum spent a year or two flying in and out of Sydney racing at Parramatta every weekend. Like I remember that. We'd go to Parramatta as a World Series car, and Callum was racing there. This is 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So there's not many overnight successes, and Dayne certainly is, and he's been racing speedway since he was 13 or 14 in a junior. So it's a long career for him already. But certainly he's got a handle on Perth very well. With the sprint car side of things, Bunbury probably should have won a race at Bunbury, but we didn't, gave it up, ended up 5th or something, not through anyone's fault. But certainly, we've got a good package from Perth. But the team itself is in a really good place. Like he's a good guy to be around. Matty's fucking super good to be around. Those two it's back to the point of almost like a Shane Brooke, a Pete Capeborn type of time era, where it almost steers itself. Like these guys just kind of do their thing, and I'm kind of back to being the chief energy officer, I suppose, and kind of just organising the logistics and dealing with sponsors and doing the stuff that I should be doing instead of scratching my head and talking to people about who's going to drive it next and who's going to work on it next. Yeah.
So just with that, like you've spoken about your partner Louise and your two little fellas, like how much do they have involved in here? Like, do you think back to your upbringing here with around the team and stuff like that, do you want that for the boys, or are they just not interested? Like, where's your family at?
They're like super keen on it. Like Mason's, he'll sit there and just watch it. Like he's probably madder for footy than he is speedway. Louise loves it. Like any opportunity they can't. Like they come to the boys race all the time. She doesn't. We're not tragics. I mean, I am, but I never wanted to really meet anyone in speedway, female-wise, like as far as family and all that, because it's kind of like, I don't know, just easy to have two or three separate lives almost, like it's just kind of works better that way, I reckon. So she's not like dragging the kids up there every weekend until midnight and then bringing them home, and just like, they're keen on it, and like they come out here and muck around and have fun, especially when Dayne's kids are here. We always have a bit of a season launch the night before we race, the night before opening night, and all the partners and wives and kids come out or whatever, and our kids just play great together. Dayne Jumblote does Auskick with my youngest one, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, right.
So there's life away from speedway, but I think that's kind of like healthier for your longevity of it, or it's just nice to get away from it. Like and I probably had that chat with Matty during the year, I guess, because he worked his ass off last year, went to the US with Matt Jewell, year just go on, and then come back, and he was pretty wore out halfway through the year, and I'm just like, mate, you just can't. I've seen it time and time again. You just you think you want to be around the racing all the time, but you actually don't, and you've got to realise that it's not like just racing 12 months of the year is unsustainable. And Kerry will tell you that, and he's probably the most hardened person the sport has, I reckon. He's just like, I was doing the Outlaws, coming into a World Series, going back doing the Outlaws. Like, you just can't do it. You need the breaks. And like, look at James. He's been out of the car for 4, 5, or 6 weeks, whatever. Coastal American just wins 5 or 6 straight or whatever it was. So like that time away is good. And, you know, like when we race here, high limit over Christmas time and speed week and whatever, like it's hectic. But then like the times when you're at home, you're in the pool or you're at the back or you're kicking the footy, you don't want to talk about racing. Like the last thing you want is your young bloke to be like, Dad, will you watch the speedway with me? Or, you know, like, or your missus to be like, oh, you know, let's, you know, what time are we going to the speedway tonight and all that. Like she doesn't even ask. It'll be like 15 minutes of her, oh, I'm going in 15 minutes. I'll see you tomorrow. Like, all right, cool. Like, yeah, good luck, have fun, you know, whatever. So, but now they've look, if they want to get into it, then all good. You know, obviously it's been so good for our family keeping it together. You know, still best mates with Ron and John, and we have this, you know, great bond and great connection, and it's been really. And I wouldn't point the finger at Speedway for anything that happened with, you know, with Jason and Daryl. That's just a circumstance that happened that, fuck, you know, I don't know if it was their time, it was their time. Same with Shane. Like you can't, you know, I hate the doctors for, you know, somebody passing away with cancer. Like, everyone just does what they can do, and it kind of is what it is, I suppose. You know, what do you do?
Just with the little fellas then, is Dad wanting race car drivers or footy players? Like if you...
Me?
Not that you care, but if you had a preference, are they playing for St Kilda or are they driving a car?
Preferably not playing for... Preferably, yes, playing footy.
Not
preferably
right now.
not for St Kilda, yeah. Looks like the drama with any of that, and it's not a drama, but, you know, if you want your kid to be good in motorsport, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of money, and it is very much like when you look at David Priolo, for example, with his young bloke. Like he's like they're at the go-kart track every weekend. Like I just don't know if I have that amount of energy. Maybe our kid's too late, probably, but I just don't know if I want to. And same, you know. Footy's also the same. Like you know, if your kid's going to be any good at footy, you're driving to Perth every weekend, or you know, which I'd rather be doing that than going to, you know, Nibing racing go-karts or Exmouth racing go-karts or whatever. But whatever they want to do. But yeah, probably if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick golf over all of them. To be honest, Mason's best mate is like a really gun 7-year-old golfer, like on the trajectory. Like he is like wild, like a freak, like hard to explain. But he's we actually sponsor him, and he went to America last year for the Junior World Championships and ran. I'm going to say it was like 10th or something out of like 60 or 70 kids, and he's going back again this year. So they're like going to Perth, like coaching. You know, like short game, long game coaches. They're going to the east for all sorts of junior championships, playing against kids from, you know, Korea, America. Like he's there, and that commitment for them is massive. Like but you don't want to rob them of any opportunity either. So,
fine line in it.
Yeah.
There's nothing
do everything
now
you can for them.
There's nothing now that you can't. There's no such thing as an elite 14-year-old, but if you're not training as if you're elite, you don't get anywhere. Like to get an AFL player, like the percentage that get drafted after 19, nothing. So you've got to put that 16 to 18-year-old block in. And
and I'm just telling Mason, like he is so hung up on footy. He couldn't walk from here to the wall without kicking an imaginary ball. Or he's got all these plushies in the house and he's got goals set up, and I'm just like, stop jumping around. It's fun. There's like a dozen footies in the backyard. They're on the shed. They're over the fence. They're like, he is so sick for it. It's pretty good to watch, but just, you know, and I just kept saying to him, mate, like the best thing you can do is play, or not the best thing you can do, but where you need to aim is like, you know, playing league for probably Bunbury, you know, you need to aim at like Colts, you know, then you go to league, and you know, and it's not necessarily about making it to the AFL, but it's about being around the footy club, and that's the thing with motorsport. It's an individual sport to a point until, you know, you're in a bigger team or whatever. But, you know, most kids go and go-kart race and they're just going with their dad, and they kind of make a few mates out of it until they get into a big team or you buy them a ride. But, you know, with footy, it's like such a network, such a tight bond. It's more cultural. You know, you get in the right culture of a footy club, and then, you know, that's what I'm trying to tell Mason. Like, mate, you just want to play footy with your mates. Like, you don't want to be the best in be the best. Like, if you can be the best, be the best. But you just want to be around your mates. Like,
have fun.
Just have fun. Just like aim at Colts, aim at league. Just be the best you can be in every step of the way, and just create that little band of brothers and just be in a really good team environment. That's the thing. Like, it's all culture, and that's where you want to be.
Yeah, well, and I kept on thinking about that when you were talking about the dynamics within like the cricket relationships and that, and it's like, it sounds like at the very essence of it, if the team's not having fun, the team's not going any good.
Got to have fun, and we've had times like, we won the championship last couple of years, and there's times where we could have been better, and times where we probably lucked into some stuff as well. But it's got to be fun. Like, it's got to be, and when I was went through had this bit of a chat with Matty there last year, and he's like, you're good at keeping the boys up and whatever, and that's probably on race night or the second half of the week. That's probably my role more so. Like, once the car gets to the track, it's not really much. Like, my input is not massive. I just make sure every person that buys a shirt or buys something is thanked, and it's done with a smile, and I just look after the boys, and there's got to be beer in the esky, there's got to be food in the fridge, there's got to, everyone's got to get thanked. I shake every hand when I walk in there on race night, I shake every hand when I leave, and it's just like, it's got to be enjoyable, and we've got to have a laugh, and no matter what happens, we have some laughs on the way too, and we have some laughs on the way home, and we have some beers at the end of it, and hopefully in every instance we live to fight another day for the next week, whether you win or lose. But fun is paramount, and that just flows on, I think. Yeah, mate.
I just got some final questions to wrap this up. Unless there's anything else you want to cover off on.
I don't think so.
It's 2.5 hours.
Because 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's
really.
that's.
I can't believe it's got to like 5 o'clock and I haven't had a beer, which I might grab one.
Yeah,
do you want one?
Mate, yeah, I will. Just quickly, why the number 2?
That was just the number that Shane chose back when he started racing. So he was number 2 from word go, and it's just stuck. And now I think it's like, I'd never dream of changing it. It's the 2 car. I think it's synonymous with KMS.
Oh,
yeah.
And then is there a driver or a deal that didn't come together that you sort of think about now? Like, is there a big opportunity that the missed, or a big driver that sort of just didn't get across the line?
No, I don't think so. Hey, like, I think most levers that we've, most things that have happened have actually worked out pretty well, and I don't think, I don't think there's been too much that hasn't really happened. When you rattle off the names of the guys that have, some of their tenures have probably been interrupted a little bit, which is how McMahon and Sides and those guys came to be in the car. Probably at those points in time, you're like, fuck, this is tragic. We can't do the whole World Series with just Brooke or just Kerry. Like, this is and it's not, because it passes, and, before you know it, it's really, in the whole scheme of time, it's about a minute anyway. But, so no, I don't think so. Like, I think you look back and you're obviously always going to regret stuff, but it's probably more about the race that got away, not the person or the driver. Well,
that's my next question. What is the race that got away? If you could redo one race in your head, what would it be?
Probably a bit different for me, because I'm on the, like that for a driver. That's a really good question, and they probably all have different answers. Probably, I don't know. Like, there's been some seconds that probably could have been firsts. Particularly back, we ran second. We've only ever won one classic, which burns me. It's funny, we've only won one classic, but like 7 Aussie titles, and Luch is he's really one of a really good mate of mine. He's kind of won 10 World Series and 7 classics and 1 title. So it's kind of it's a little bit, we're sort of both backwards there. But probably the race that probably that would stick in my mind for us not winning. 2 actually. One's a long time ago when I was at the King's Royal with Hod. We I think we got flat left rear tyre, and we're looking like we're going to win that, and we didn't win many outlaw races that year, and that's, as a kid, that's all you've been there working, that's a rare opportunity. But then went back in 99, I think we won like 3 or 4 outlaw races with Bond, so that was all good. Probably Dayne's first win, not Dayne's first win, but in Dayne's first year, it was like getting toward the back end of the season. He was leading like by a long way. It was his first, I'm going to say it was his first year. Might have been his second, but no, I'm going to say it was his first year, back into the season. He's leading and leading well over Jason. And back in those days, if you were beating the 11 car, you were doing something right. And everyone was young and green, and like I felt like, and he's leading this right. And there was a restart with like 6 or 7 to go. And I thought, Jason will either drive past him or run second, or he's going to drive away and probably win. And he just absolutely yarded him. It was like, and it was not on the fence, but a little bit below it. But it was like one of them things where it was just wide open, and he's just getting quicker and quicker, and the gap was getting bigger and bigger to Jason. And I'm like watching the lap counter. I can just see exactly what's going to unfold, and I've never doubted his fitness, but I think he either just got a little bit tired and it just got a little tired on him, or he just missed the corner, whatever. But this thing was just gaining speed and momentum, and just the gap was getting bigger. He's getting quicker and quicker and quicker, and he fucking poked it in the fence about where the pit gate is, and flipped halfway down the straight, and finished with like this thing. Just it absolutely killed it. And like your first
Dayne,
win,
man.
and we haven't been we haven't been part of somebody's first win like before, because it's always been somebody's first breakthrough win is not, it happens once, and for us it had always happened well before we got to the driver. In most cases, if we go way back to Ron and John and Shane, so like in our current form, that just never ever happened. And I'm like, this is cool, like I didn't expect him to go and win a race in our first year or whatever it was. But it's like this thing, and I'm getting more nervous and more nervous, and then I'm like, fuck, you got to lose one to win one, they say. But then he hit the fence and absolutely fucking binned it, like just. And I look back and like probably that was that wasn't great that it happened for him, because he just needed to get that win, and it was probably going to come too soon for him anyway, because it probably slowed him down in a lot of aspects. It certainly made him think twice about how hard these things could bike. So I know it rattled him. But then when he got back to the rig, I didn't handle myself. I didn't blow up at him, but I didn't handle myself too well, which is probably the biggest regret that I've got with it. Instead of what I should have done is just fucking give him a hug and just be like, mate, that was shit happens. You need to. And we had the conversation a little bit later. Don't let it define you. But but instead I was just like, fuck me, mate. Like all you had to do was another 100 metres. Like what were you thinking? Like we would have left here with a point lead. You would have won your first race. And I was all about what would have happened and the negatives, instead of about shit happens. It's done. Like you are better than that. It's going to come. Let's move forward. So didn't handle myself great in that instance. And we spoke about it later, the next week or whatever. And his dad actually climbed up me a little bit about it. He's like, you should have gone back to, as a confidence guy, you should have gone to practice the next Wednesday. And I'm like, mate, we just been to car. The last thing I want to do was go to practice like the following week. And because then it took him, then the next week, he's like, fuck, I'm just driving like a bitch, like it's in the back of my mind. And I think about what happened at the time of the crash. If I had handled it better, the knock-on would have been less mentally bearing for him next time he got in the car. But anyway, what do? You can't go back and change what happened, so you just got to learn. And I would handle it differently now, for sure.
Do you get nervous?
Oh, yeah, like nervous as absolutely.
Okay. It's weird, like not like
more
I'm
nervous with him than anyone that I ever did, like Kerry. And I think because he's still, like, I'm not going to call him a rookie, but now I feel like there's way more at stake. Like, I feel like he's still not yet to prove himself, but I'm nervous for the whole team and the outcome. I feel like is big with the SEG thing. Like they boom that up to be big, and you can't help but listen. But I think he's still, he's proven but unproven. I think Dayne in many ways. So I really get nervous for his. He's just a little bit unvalidated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just want the success for him.
Yeah. So I get like really nervous for the team and for him. The outcome. I don't want him to. And I don't get nervous about him getting hurt or crashing or anything. It's more about the outcome. And some of the guys you got to race against are a little sketchy when you get through traffic. It's. Fuck, they don't know where they're going. How's Dayne going to know where they're going? And you just want to win the race. I think like you just want to win so badly all the time that it's you're just nervous for that feeling. You don't want to run second. Like and second's good. Like Kerry always told me, there's nothing wrong with second. Well, there fucking is. And I said, and there is. But I get nervous. I know up at the Channel 7 guy, he's always like telling the camera guy, fuck, put the camera on him. Like, if he wins, he'll go mad. If he gets scratched, he'll go mad. Like, I like literally wear my fingernails down. And yeah, Matty handles it pretty good. He plays a pretty cool hand. But
He does. He is a straight bat, old Matty.
Yeah, when we're on the mule on the innie there, I'm like, fucking, I'm riding every bump and I'm like ducking and diving. I probably look like I'm having an epileptic fit to the crowd, but yeah, it's I ride every bump for sure. It makes me nervous. Yeah,
Mate, just one last little thing. I feel like Bunbury Toyota has been on every car and stuff like that, and Bunbury Toyota is so important to Krikke Motorsports. But do you think Krikke Motorsports is like really important to Bunbury Toyota, like with people coming through? Like, yeah,
we do a lot of business from Speedway.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. And it's it started out as Bunbury Toyota Racing and then slowly turned into KMS or Krikke Motorsport, I suppose. For a while there, it was like Kingshott Racing. I've still got a sticker actually, Kingshott Racing, which is pretty cool. Then it was like Krikke Jackson, and then it kind of went to Krikke Motorsport after that. We never went with Krikke Wells or Brooke Tatnell, any of that. And then it just sort of turned into Krikke Motorsport. Probably a little bit on the back of having Skip and Paul with us. They were like Jackson Motorsport or Jackson Brothers Racing or something. So it was a little bit about identity, I suppose. But we do. Well, you've bought a Hilux recently. One of our crew guys, Scotty, this week just bought a Hilux off us. We do heaps of business through Toyota.
Yeah, right.
Through Speedway Speedway deals. Yeah, it's actually funny at work if I've and I'll not palm you off, but I'll give you to the sales guy that's going to give you the right attention. And we have this funny thing at work. Oh, just another Speedway deal. Oh, they drove past the Speedway once, so that must be a Speedway deal. So yeah, we have this funny thing at work about Speedway deals, but it's been good. It's been a good relationship for the business. Yeah, absolutely.
And my very last question before we end up: have you ever drove one?
Yeah, I did. And they're not like, you don't get track time with them as such, so you got to go really looking for it. It's not like a go-kart where you go to the track and you just jump in your mates at the end of it and go and have a skid. It's not like that. It's you got to, especially now, but even back when I sort of had that bit of an interest, you had to book the track and you got to, and then you got to wash the things and work on them, and it's just a ball ache. But so when I did have a couple of track days and sort of try and get myself up to speed, right in amongst that, like boys thing, Shane type thing and all that. In that
late
period,
90s.
Yeah, when I was kind of getting pretty keen to have a skid, and I could kind of see myself doing it, and then that was probably the last time I sat in one. Yeah, to be honest, so I spent a long time. Yeah, and I don't even whatever. Like I'll sit in it, and if the boys needed me to, I'd sit in it and start it down the street or whatever. It doesn't, like, I'm not worried about it, but it's just kind of like, it doesn't, I'm not like, fuck, that's sick, like, get in it. And I think I've not been around them too long where it bores me, but I just have a lot of respect for them for what they are, and everyone has a role. Like, we have a crew chief to do that job, we have a driver to do that job.
It's past the come and try
what am I going to do?
Stage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to go and start a career at 48 or 49 years old, am I? Like, who you kidding? I'm a realist. It's not going to happen. So, and it's not a regret I have either.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, I don't know how to end it. It's 2 hours and 41 minutes. It's my longest.
Beer, I reckon.
Yeah, I know that might be. I'm drawing up here, mate. I'm drawing up here.
2 hours 40. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Really appreciate the. I really appreciate the time. Obviously, the content and stuff like that. Look, it's a big honour for you to share that with me, to be honest with you. And really appreciate your time. And let's have a beer.
Yeah. No, thanks for the opportunity to tell the story. Cheers, mate.